Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up. You witnessing a champ in the making, fueled by your passion for greatness. Yeah, but adversity and bad situations meet us in the middle of the paths that we taking. But it's what you do after that makes men. Will you quit or will you stand up and face it? Tell me, do you have what it takes to swing back when this life asks for the fade? Can you tell me you'll adapt to the change when a punch lands and it puts you flat on your face? After you wake, will you stand up and say, get mad, hit back, lit match to the flames? Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up.
Suicide doors are looking gorgeous, though. Icy boy.
perfection, ain't no half stepping. I'm gonna take you back, spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Raised in the belly of the beast. There were days where I barely had sleep, but I had to work more than competition. I can't live like the opposition. Living everything I dreamed of, doing everything you think of. The way I work, I'm on the brink of doing everything you dreamed of. Only aim for perfection, ain't no half stepping. I'm gonna take you back, spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. In the city, plenty havoc causing. Do or die, it's either all or nothing. Best believe I'm leaving out with something. Anytime I got the crowd jumping, throwing rage, you know they fist pumping. I'm the king of dysfunction. What would you do if you had my life? Work like me, had those stripes. Would you go hard just to have that ice? Lot of dudes fail trying to have that price. Either yo, cooking about to add that spice. Nowadays, you never had that fight. When the push bill, better burst your pipes. Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up. You witnessing a champ in the making, fueled by your passion for greatness. Yeah, but adversity and bad situations meet us in the middle of the paths that we taking. But it's what you do after that makes men. Will you quit or will you stand up and face it? Tell me, do you have what it takes to swing back when this life asks for the fade? Can you tell me you'll adapt to the change when the punch lands and it puts you flat on your face? After you wake, will you stand up and say, get mad, hit back, lit match to the flames? Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up.
مكان فكان في دامج وحاط ضغط على
روب المخطبوط العراق موجود معانا ليخلص مدفع التواجد الايسبورت
تكسر الوضع تاع اوبا حاليا على غرب لوحده بالصراط
هذا الليد لم يكن في مكان مناسب. سيكتور يا سيكتور يا سيكتور يا سيكتور.
Welcome everybody to another day of PMPL Arabia Full Split. This is Super Weekend number 3, day number 1, the final Super Weekend across this fantastically long-winded yet entertaining tournament nonetheless. My name is Imperium, and if you want to join in on all of the socials across the days, across this amazing tournament, get involved. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, TikTok, as well as, of course, Instagram and Twitter using the hashtag PMPL Arabia. Genuinely let us know what you think. Who are you supporting? What teams are you looking to see come out on top? And yeah, let us know how we're getting on. But I'm not alone, of course. I have the wonderful, the fantastic, the one and only, the ever gracious, the ever funny. I don't know what else to describe, to use to describe her, but I'm just going to say it is the amazing Monica by my side. How are you doing?
Hi, that was definitely the longest introduction I think I've ever had, right? But I am so excited to be here. I haven't seen you in a while, Imperium, but I am ever so excited to be back on the casting desk with you for this very last Super Weekend.
Did you miss me?
I do. It was me and Jake. We had a lot of fun, but I can't make my boomer jokes at Jake because he's younger than me, so I saved them for you.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Monica. I appreciate them, and I'll give them back just as much. So another day of action on the first day of Super Weekend number 3. Let's go through the format of the tournament real super quickly. If you're not familiar with it by now, it's League week, followed by the Super Weekends, followed by the finals. Again, this is the third and final Super Weekend.
We keep saying time is really flying when we have fun, and somehow we're already on our last Super Weekend. It feels like this tournament just started. I don't know if it's the same for you. Maybe it's dragging long for you, but as we see, we're on July 6th right now, so we are well over halfway, and this is the no break week, right, Imperium? Usually we have that one day in between, but today we're just diving right into Super Weekend.
No time like the present, and yeah, the lack of day gap between the league week number 3 and the third Super Weekend might put a little bit more strain on the performance of some of the teams. Of course, it will build up to the all elusive finals come the end of July, and having a look at the prize pool, give a bit of an idea of what the teams are fighting for. Grand total of 150 grand across the month-long tournament for these teams to get a decent chunk of.
My favorite part about this is that $1,000 chicken dinner per Super Weekend, right? So that's, hey, you're giving you incentive to really perform, and it just makes it real nice and sparkly, right? You're like, yes, we got a chicken dinner, we shoved ourselves way high in the standings, and we got $1,000. So huge bragging rights on that part.
It does. It puts a lot of weight on that all-elusive first-place spot in a game. And even though I personally put more emphasis on consistency and using the longer format of this tournament to prepare for the finals and to really kind of extrapolate as much of a well-rounded performance as a team as you can, I do understand that when you have a lot of money on the line and you have that opportunity to pick up a decent chunk of change, you're going to want to do that, and it does play into the excitement of every single one of these Super Weekend games.
Yep, it makes that chicken dinner all the more sweet. I guess savory would be the right describing word, right? I don't know if have you ever had sweet chicken for dinner?
I have, much like bacon with sugar.
Oh, like caramelized.
You know, that's sweet and salty, right? Just like we're gonna have this sweet and salty mix of the participating teams in this first Super Weekend to give you a bit of an idea of who is playing out of the 20 teams. We skipped 4, or should I say 4 didn't qualify, so these are the 16 teams. And I think the most glaring one for the very first time in this Super Weekend is VISTA Gaming. That
Mm.
logo's there, and they have a big journey ahead of them.
I do like Vista's very minimalistic logo though, but yeah, this is the first time. So, I mean, talk about waiting till the last second. Congrats on qualifying for the last Super Weekend, but they haven't qualified for any Super Weekend yet. So they're sitting at a big fat 0, whereas the next team above them, fortunately for them, is Curd12, who was also one of those teams that didn't qualify for this weekend. So they're at 75 points, but it's really, if they even want to catch up to the next closest team, they're looking at like close to 100 points that they need to get just to catch up. But to even qualify to get in 16th, that's
Yes.
way more points above that.
Exactly. I like that you mentioned kind of that Curd12 75 point mark, because I would say that as much as their climb is ridiculously high, that they need to make it into the finals, you gotta kind of take it team by team. So it's that little bit of a checkpoint when you're playing a game and you reach that checkpoint. So if you do go down, you automatically go back to that checkpoint. It's kind of what it is for Vista Gaming, and you're right,
Yeah.
that 75 point mark that Curd12 currently have and will have is their check mark. But what other teams are you kind of maybe looking out for in this third Super Weekend?
I think it's minimizing the, I guess, how do you phrase it? Like if you're thinking like, wow, we need to get 200 points to qualify over this team, right? That's very daunting. You're probably going to lose your motivation real quick. So lowering the, I guess, immediate goal and just having, small wins equal big results. So just take it one team at a time. Just climb a little bit higher. I mean, Vista Gaming, they're going to need, I mean, we saw it from GEEKAY, right? GEEKAY last weekend had a 200 plus point weekend, and they were just playing out of their minds, right? So I mean, they're gonna 206 points actually. So if Vista Gaming can play like GEEKAY last weekend, they could potentially qualify, but that is a real like 1 in a million chance. They're gonna have to really just play out of their minds.
Let's put a bit more of a visual stimulation on what you just mentioned by going to the overall standings, and to give everybody a bit of an idea of where all the teams stand so far. This is with 30 games played for the top 8 teams so far, and indeed GEEKAY with 7 chicken dinners, a grand total of 364 points, 112 points ahead of their nearest rival.
7 chicken dinners found from GEEKAY. And remember, it was last weekend, guys, if you were tuning in. GEEKAY just seemed every single Erangel match was just GEEKAY, 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 right? And it was maybe 1 or 2 that they didn't actually win, but their win percentile on Erangel is absolutely insane.
The big exciting thing within reason is that 2 of the top 8 teams are not playing in this final Super Weekend. That's 4K Esports and Twisted Mind. So not only is their opportunity to climb up the standings taken away, but their opportunity to grab that $1,000 per chicken dinner is stripped away. So those 2 teams will, of course, slowly but surely go down the standings.
2nd through 5th place is so close, Imperium. Like it's a 3-point difference. And although there isn't a difference in prize pool in league standings like this, it's still the bragging rights. It's still the, hey, let's, intimidate some teams now for the finals, sort of thing. So I think there's going to be an even higher level beyond just playing their game. It's which teams can we potentially target or drive away from our spot to set ourselves up the best for the finals.
That's true. It's a fine line, because you do have that one side of you want to kind of end this Super Weekend stage with a confident result, so that you're able to kind of go into the final saying, hey, we finished second, we finished first, we finished third, for example, right?
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, what's the point in finishing second or third if the teams down below you have maybe not have performed as well, but they've tried different elements of their gameplay that puts them in a greater spot come the finals to be a more well-rounded team, and they're able to get that top spot, right? Because that's something that the teams have got to balance out and make sure that they have under their belts coming into the finals.
Definitely. I mean, GEEKAY is a prime example of that as we take a look at our second page of the overall standings. But GEEKAY, there's nothing to lose, right? There's 7 chicken dinners. They've got already that 7K cash money. They have all the room in the world to play around, versus the teams kind of towards the second half or second page of the overall standings. Some of these teams in Imperium, especially ones at the bottom, they're really in the hot seat. And the teams that are, later that we see on the third page, they're really trying to strive over them to qualify top 16 into finals.
At the moment, the non-moving target is Rad. They are not
Hmm.
playing in this third Super Weekend, and they're on a grand total of 193 points. So for Conquer Rock at the moment in 16th, realistically, to me, they only need to grab themselves 80 points and they're kind of secure in the finals. Maybe I'm wrong
Yeah.
with that, but that's kind of at the moment what I look at. But at the end of the day, there is that possibility for a couple of teams below them too and not make it in. And the likes of Falcons and the only one is probably the team that I'm most worried about coming into this Super Weekend. They've been very shaky. It seems like they rely more heavily on placement points, and
Hmm.
with teams like Falcons and Conquer Rock down below, and of course Vista Gaming on the hunt, on the prowl, they might bow down to that pressure.
Conquer Iraq was the one that really surprised me, right? They came out
Mm,
at the beginning of this tournament, blowing everyone to smithereens. I think it was that first league play week, and then that super weekend they were really doing phenomenal. And then
yeah.
this last weekend they didn't even qualify for super weekend, so they fell from, I want to say, the top page to all the way down to 16th.
Yeah, it
But
was
we saw
weird.
them from the 2 days earlier today, or earlier this week, right? Especially that day number 2 where they really came back. They got chicken dinner. They were playing so well and clawed their way back up to into the super weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I said yesterday that they showed far more signs of their normal play style, their normal ability. Let's take a
Yeah.
look at the third and final page and see what the teams who are currently at the moment outside of the top 16 leading into the finals need to do. Now, of course, Kurt 12, they are not playing in this third Super Weekend. They are guaranteed to not make it into the finals. Me and Jake talked about it in yesterday's broadcast. But the biggest question, and we've alluded to it already, Vista Gaming, this is their first Super Weekend. They have 0 points on board. They're not even in the mix. Can they jump ahead of 90th minute Skyrocket and the likes of Conquer Rack to make it into the finals?
Yeah, and it's not just enough to jump ahead of them, right? They have to look at the teams that well above them. Even if they jump above like 90 minutes skyrocket, they're still in what 17th position right there, just that they
Oh,
jump
right.
above. So, like you said, that rad, I think, positioning at 193 points, that's the one, that's the benchmark that they're really all striving to get.
You know what might help them go along the way? Grabbing
What?
themselves a couple of cans of Monster, the official energy drink partner for PMPL Arabia. So get yourself energized with a can of Monster. Monica, there's so much to talk about. We do have to, of course, highlight the fantastic grand banquet that is available in game. You can get the ingredients to make more dishes. Let's share and spread the happiness together. As well as that, in game, you can draw for a discount for free every single day along with it. So up to 70% off with a group discount. So get in game, get involved, and of course, like I said, get ingredients to make more dishes to share and spread the happiness. And that's what the teams kind of need to do within themselves as players, right? In this third Super Weekend, they got to share the happiness of themselves and kind of make sure that there is a good vibe, a good ability of momentum, so that they're able to grab as many good performances as they can.
Yeah, a lot of the teams, especially the ones that did well earlier this week, they're probably come in here with good mentality, happy vibes, like you said, right? Like they
Yeah.
are all playing in sync. Comms are super high versus teams that maybe just barely got into the super weekend. Maybe they're, not so happy, right? And it might kind of cost them. They might be angry at each other or angry at themselves, sort of thing. So it's gonna be a big hurdle for them to come up.
Definitely, and we have a schedule of maps that the teams are gonna have to go one by one to get through the hurdles, starting with Erangel, followed by Miramar, Erangel, Sanhok, and of course ending on Erangel. So three
Hmm.
Erangels, pretty normal stuff in the Super Weekend, but it's always important to highlight it because having control of one map, much like Conquer Rock, is one thing, but you got to be well rounded to have all of your maps, all of the maps, should I say, kind of within your back pocket.
A team that has really dominated Erangel, we already mentioned it before, was GEEKAY, right? Like, they really have their
Hmm.
Erangel game down. And then the teams that aren't able to be super dominant in Erangel are suffering, right? Because you play 3 out of the
Yeah.
5 games every day. So we see NIGMA Galaxy, they're really dominant now in Miramar. CONQUEROR, we've seen a lot of success on Miramar as well. But it's only one match out of the day, right, Imperium? So you can't really just bank on that one match to carry
No.
you through the entire day.
Definitely, and one thing that I positively noticed about CONQUEROR's performance yesterday, at least, was that on Erangel they did look a little bit better.
Mm.
Whether that was part of just the madness of the league week 3, that remains to be seen. But I do have to highlight, from an observational standpoint, they did look more confident, or as confident on Erangel as they have on the best of their Miramar games. So I'm pretty happy to, at least within reason, see that adaptation coming through. The other positive thing, of course, is that all of these 16 teams are going to be playing in the same lobby together across the 5 games today, across the 15 games of this super weekend. So it does give an element of time for them to make sure that they understand the pathing rotations of the teams around them, outside of what they already know, because some teams could change it up this weekend, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that needs to be considered. So these 15 games does give a bit of time for some learning and awareness to come through for these.
One thing that made it tricky, now that they're in those 16 set teams in the lobby right now, it's a little
Mm.
bit easier to determine, what these teams are going to do. Back in the group stages earlier this week, actually 2 days ago and yesterday, right? We had different groups, right? So you always had 4
Yeah,
teams sitting out, and we always
exactly.
had, the teams had to do a little bit more homework to see, okay, these 4 teams are out, so most likely these teams will drop on their spots, etc., and just try to, keep up with all of the groups as well.
Well, this is it. We are into the very first
Oh.
game of the day. It is in the hollow grounds of Erangel that has a playing path a little bit awkward for the teams to deal with, shifting more heavily around that south and southwestern side of the map. So teams that want to go up east, Monica, not going to be too easy to deal with.
I want to see where Road to Glory is going to go because they like to take Yasnaya when Falcons is not here. Of course, Falcons
Yeah.
is here. Somehow Falcons, though, I'm actually really surprised how low they are in the Super Weekend. So they tend to do well in league play. Just I think they're sitting at about 15th position right now in the overall. So they're one of those teams that really needs to dive up in that Yasnaya area. But yeah, this is a pretty, for Erangel, it's a pretty extreme playing path.
So Triple Esports shifting up towards Milta, it seems, for the time being. RD Thunders are going to go down to military base. CONQUEROR going to be shifting towards Ferry Pierce. One thing that they might be a little bit cautious about as well, because Vista Gaming did something like this
Mm,
yesterday, is that they kind
yeah,
of dropped on CONQUEROR around that Ferry Pier area and picked up a couple of
yeah.
eliminations. And again, it seems like they are a little bit cautious of it.
Vista Gaming is one of those. Remember that one time you were casting and you called a team like the cockroaches of the tournament? Vista Gaming is
Yeah.
in the sense of, I know you dubbed that name because this team just seemed to always just kind of scrap in the points and just kind of barely qualify every single time. Vista Gaming, though, I want to say that the cockroaches in this region, just because they are always, I guess, just being very opportunistic of where they drop. They really don't have any sort of
Yeah.
permanent drop spot. They just go where nobody else is at.
True, and I think that within reason has kind of gone against them at times, because I feel like there's no real identity to their
Yeah.
play style, at least to their starting point. I noticed good improvements as we do see a flurry of action in the middle portion of this map. Phase 1's popped up, and it does encapsulate a good bit of the military island, Monica.
You might be chugging a monster today, Imperium. Well, I'll hold you to it. we have this ongoing bet. If we
haven't made. Whoa! Is it ongoing? I didn't know it was ongoing.
It will never end till the day every single tournament. This will keep going on as long as you're casting it.
Until we run out of monster, right?
Yeah, as long as the monster is also the official partner of the tournament as well.
Oh my lord! Oh my lord! Okay, I didn't realize it was a lifelong contract that I'd signed. Jesus, Monica. Talk about
Jeez,
baiting me.
how
I
intense,
should have gotten my
man.
lawyer to look over it before I signed those papers.
Read the fine detail. Yes, yes.
Oh man, so Major Pride down towards South George. Interesting that SKYROCKETs have gone up to North George with R8. Now it is a location of the map that can very easily hold two teams, but R8 very familiar with it to an extent, so they have gone more towards the west of it, and SKYROCKETs hold the eastern side.
There's actually Road to Glory and Falcons that I mentioned at the beginning of the game, right? How are they going to get up to that Yasnaya, Stalbert area? They've actually dropped in the farm area, and if you guys remember, Twisted Minds, who drops in the farm area, is not here. So both these two teams, I mean, all the teams, they've done their homework, right? They know, hey, these 4 teams, Twisted Minds, you know, et cetera, are not in this match. Or actually in this entire week, in Twisted Minds 4K, Rad, and Kurt 12, these are the open spots in the lobby, and that's, you know, in a last-ditch effort, we can go there in case it's open.
Trofka Vista Gaming on his own is kind of somewhat forced to get down to the beach coastline of the cliff area. And it's important that Vista Gaming don't lose players early on, right? Because again, their journey, the fight is so hard coming into this third super weekend. They really have to take it game by game as Road to Glory look to push back the side of Falcons.
Yeah, we see these shootouts, but you just have to remember, PUBG Mobile is a survival game at the end of the day.
Oh, no.
What? Falcons? Oh, the
Monica.
four-man vehicle?
Yeah. I'm scared, Monica. I'm scared.
I mean, this is like Crasher. It looks like they've gotten out the clutches of the only one for now, right? But if they were to crash, if they were to, you know, something were to go all wrong, it's literally putting all of your eggs in one basket, right?
Ooh. Luckily, they stop, pick up a vehicle, pick up a second buggy, so it's not quite a full team inside one vehicle. It's still 3 players. They are heading up north. They're heading towards Mansion, Yasnaya area, and it does make sense because of plane path being on the southwest, so it is a little bit more free area of the map to hold on to and somewhat loot up from.
Yeah, maybe that's one of the reasons why they're a little bit more, what's the word, comfortable being all 4 in a car, at least in the beginning. They only had that because they know such a far away plane path driving all the way up here. There really is a very low chance that anybody is up here. So they're going to have a lot of time to loot now in Yasnaya. And as they come into the circle more, as it keeps closing on in, they're going to have a lot of room on that northeastern side.
Shots from Dino. Tries to send back one of the CONQUEROR players. That's some good proactivity from Vista Gaming, just puffing out their chest a little bit. CONQUEROR will of course get information, but at the end of the day, I like that Vista Gaming are not wanting CONQUEROR to get too close to their compound.
Vista Gaming, again, this is a team that is sitting at 0 points right now, and being at 0 points and losing a player this early, it's not the way you really want to start it off. So
I mean, they had lost a player.
Yeah, they lost a player right at the beginning. Remember, they landed on or like on CONQUEROR on like the farm-ish area. It was a little hard to see.
Yeah. I didn't know they'd lost a player. I thought they still had a full squad up. Yeah. I don't know, Monica. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do from here?
Oh man, okay, we had our little glider. We've seen little bits and pieces of glides, but no one seems to be able to keep the glider actually in the air for more than 5 seconds. R8 Prestige, I mean, I want to see it. I really hope he doesn't go for that buggy though. I really want to keep him. Hope he keeps that glider and takes it into the circle. Come on. No, don't do it. No, don't do it. Come on. Oh, he's a little stuck. Oh, this is okay. He gave up. He gave up and went for the buggy. Unfortunately,
I'm a little bit disappointed with the glider skill in this event. I will say that was definitely a lot smoother than what we saw from. Was it a player Rad, if I'm not mistaken?
Oh man, who was it? It was Volt from Road to Glory.
Yeah, so Volt from Road to Glory. Much better than Volt from Road to Glory, to be fair. Not that it could have been much worse. Just something to note is Ardu Thunders, by the way, previously they were kind of bridge camped by Vista Gaming, and I think they were a little bit cautious of that happening again. So they've opted to go for an Eastern bridge rotation. Risky timing. on it being the 8-minute mark, they get away with it.
They can get away with it. Another team that we've seen land in their general side of the world was SKYROCKET. We've seen them go to the Noble crates as well. And then we've seen them kind of loot or rotate onto each other, which definitely is not something that Oredo Thunders has wanted. So yes, we've seen their pro activity, like you just pointed out, Imperium, and it's really great stuff from them. And POWR even coming from the GEEKAY area, rotating now onto the Pachinki Hill. And they have a huge split on that southern side. Hopefully they don't get caught out in the open.
This is something that they've started to do a little bit more and more, and it's not that they've gone deep into the center of the circle, but they're not afraid to kind of put a bit more pressure on NIGMA's Pachinki area, because I think they maybe recognize that NIGMA aren't the quickest at disengaging away from the city, and what is a primarily central phase on circle. It makes sense for them to do what they've done.
It's Erangel is a little bit of an outlier for NIGMA Galaxy. NIGMA Galaxy here, they land in Pachinki, but on the other maps, Miramar and Sanhok, they land in El Pozo, they land in Sami, and they play this edge strat into it. So it's like an oxymoron here in Erangel. They land in Pachinki, but then they play edge from the center of the map, right? So they sit here for 15 minutes, and then they just get caught off on rotation because everyone is surrounding them on that side, and it's weird. It's weird, like you said.
It definitely is. It definitely is. The next shift does go over towards the northeast, so Potato Hill is a little bit busier than usual. You have NASR Esports, you have around VISTA players, you have POWR Esport players all vying for these compounds that are around that Potato Hill region. And if you want to shift a little bit more heavily up north, you have GEEKAY in the mix outside of school apartments.
Yeah, this is getting into the era we saw Road to Glory and Falcons find each other before Falcons just got in the vehicle and just went all the way back up to Yaz and Naya. But Road to Glory, they decided to stay in this farm area. Vista Gaming, this is welcome to Super Weekend, and they are met so unwelcomely by all of the teams in this lobby.
Yeah, I kind of find it interesting that Trafka has gone so far ahead of the rest of the team.
Yeah.
There seems to be a small lack of coordination. It's something that we have seen from Vista in the past. They seem to have cleaned it up in League Week number 3 over the past couple of days, but in this first game of the day, it's starting to bear its fangs a little bit more heavily against them as Triple Esports hang on to the roadside in the eastern part of the circle. What is primarily actually the center area, so they need to be careful.
Triple Esports, they come in from that Milta side, right? And the only one pretty close to them as well. This is a huge kind of open road down on the north side of the farm area. I mean, this is the pretty central position in the circle, but it's very easy for any team to roll up on the backside of either of them, and then third party on this side too.
It's honestly, I don't think it's a good place to hold down early game. Even if it's edge, it's a little bit more viable if it's edge, but how centralized it is, I recognize that you only want to have a solid 2-2 split, but yeah, I definitely fear for their lives coming into the next 5 to 10 minutes. That was indeed a great spray by Milky Way and Major Pride onto one of the 19th players.
Up onto the Pachinki Hill, it is going to be Major Pride. I mean, they're such a frag-heavy team, and they're coming in, laying all the action as it's only Choto SK. I mean, he's getting shot in the back, nowhere left to hide, as Major Pride is just swarming and flanking and cutting off any room to breathe for 90th minute.
90th minute coming into the Super Weekend, currently 18th place in the standings with a total of 100 points. If they do match that in this Super Weekend, it will put them ahead of their current non-moving target of Rad across these games, but there's still no guarantee whatsoever that they are qualified for the finals. POWR Esports get involved for a little bit of a cheeky third party to put Major Pride under a bit of pressure.
Major Pride, though, giving it right back at POWR, this time putting Ali down to his knees. So now, this is slowing the push that would have come out from POWR, as both sides need to kind of lick their wounds and get all 4 up. But Imperium, look at that circle. It's come down on the coastal side, and this is right where they're all at, but they need to brace for impact because everyone is looking at this plateau area.
Damn, boy, that's a ping pong shift, boy, and that's going to put a lot of pressure, like you said, towards Major Pride and POWR Esports on the southeastern hillside of Pachinki. Lots of shots in the direction of POWR by Milky Way. They're doing everything that they can, Major Pride, to send back the players in POWR Esports. And honestly, I appreciate the POWR are disengaging away from this fight because they know that there's a much higher chance that a lot of teams, are going to be coming from that northeast side.
Yeah, they're playing the long game, right? They're playing, I'm thinking 10 minutes from now, what is going to happen? We don't want to be caught up here in the middle of a fight versus Pride and trying to pick off these members of any other teams that crash up here. VISTA, they're still in this compound that they've called home. They really just, they signed the deed and they just, we're going to live here to the end of our days as it still continues to hold that central position. GEEKAY, though, on the northern side, they're pretty split up, though. Look at how far Gate is from the rest of his team.
See NIGMA Galaxy starting to take an engagement with Major Pride. You can see that in the elimination feed. 2 NIGMA players go down. It was the first knock against Major Pride, but they turned it around wonderfully. 2-piece on board that leads them down to a duo. NIGMA Galaxy have been somewhat caught off guard due to late rotations, due to late movement, and due to obviously a little bit of a lack of coordination.
Lack of coordination for sure. Only 2 members in their backyard of Pachinki. I don't know how this happens every single time, but we touched on it. NIGMA Galaxy Erangel is just not their match. And for them to lose a spot in Pachinki like this, it's a bit embarrassing.
And it's not like Major Pride weren't making noise in this area, right? I don't know exactly how close NIGMA Galaxy were in terms of hearing the audio of the shots between Major Pride and POWR, but you gotta argue that if NIGMA had moved away earlier, they probably would have heard those shots earlier, therefore they would have been able to third-partied earlier and all that jazz. It's a little bit of a beautiful domino effect, as already looking for that domino effect onto NASR Esports, but he's gonna go down.
NASR currently the number 3 team in the standings, getting taken down by the likes of R8 as Prestige now this time around, trying to find the last little angle onto Miracle, and he finally gets put down into the ground.
Beautiful as that. He gets involved, looking for a little bit of cavalry support. Prestige with the DP28. He's one of 2 players that are left alive for R8. This is a little bit hairy, scary, but it's going to be R8 to come out on top.
That was beautifully done, especially by Prestige. After his little fumble with the glider at the beginning, he's able to really recover and get to the top of Potato Hill Circle now. Coming down, still hugging that coastline, but it's right on the edge of the farm area. Lots of teams in the compounds already. And there's only like 3 or 4 teams in this circle, actually. So everyone else needs to somehow converge and find a hole in the circle.
Centers up quite nicely, I would argue, away from the water, away from the majority of the coastline. There's still a good couple of core compounds to hold on to, but it's very difficult for YALLA, as they only have 1 player up, and he's inside the edge of Pachinki.
Major Pride going for the major prize, losing Milky Way only so far, but a lot of eliminations found. Now VISTA trying to defend against Road to Glory.
Crash comes in. VISTA suffers 1 knock, but they do get 1 in return. Where's the pre-nades? Where's the pre-fire from VISTA? Playing on towards the side of the windows is quite difficult, but they do take 1 player down to his sliver of health. He has to try and get the reload. Dino with the US, should I say, as he tries to play it on in. Navo with the Thompson as well, gonna look for those pre-fire shots through the window. He's the last player up for RTG. Alright, maybe getting involved with the third party. If VISTA can get the revive onto Sunrise, they'll keep them up as a 3-person team and keep them in a position to hold on to this compound.
VISTA, to their credit, has done really well to hold down the compound, but time is of the essence because Falcons are they're coming in heavy and they're looking to rack up on these eliminations, but they found themselves in a fight of their own just on the opposite side of this compound.
Alright, they suffer casualties, they suffer players, they suffer the death door as Falcons are gonna get the better of them. It was a 3rd-party attempt, it was a 4th-party attempt, and they got tangled up as Falcons do the dirty, do the deed. Now their next target is the side of VISTA Gaming. It's for this northern edge of the circle. We could see POWR Esports get involved as well. Even though they're deeper into the circle, they could technically be a little bit opportunistic if they wanted to.
We saw Conte. We could read his mind. Like, oh, like I want to get part of this, but it's a little bit too late to get into the action now. Dino with his PP19 though, he's looking out to the side. They still what the remains of the fight that happened. Vista now looking their sights onto Falcon, and Falcon they barely have their foot in the door. So Vista, they have a little bit of a higher vantage point, as well as some of the members of Falcon up onto the hill. So Falcons is in a pretty dire spot if Vista can defend once again.
That's true. The one thing that Falcons have to their advantage, to me, is a little bit of an exit potential, right? Because the road to the side of them does go a little bit downhill. Vista are less likely to be able to take shots on them, so they are able to, in my opinion, to react to the next circumstance a little bit more confidently.
A little bit more confidently. They have more information as well, right? Falcon just came down from Potato Hill, not really sure, but the nades are gonna come out. And this is the nades that you were looking for, Imperium. Where were the nades? Here they are, saving it for the onslaught Falcon.
A lot of smoke's being thrown out by Vista to try and cover off some vision, but an aid is gonna get the knock on the Dino. A second on the Trofka. Falcons, they're going for the breach. They want this squad, right? They want their 7th elimination, and Sunrise is the last player up. He's going to go the FPP mode and is able to get one knock. Goes out the window, nearly gets a second. Great attempt. But Falcons make the body advantage work in their favor and get the squad wipe.
Valiant effort from Vista Gaming, but out in 11th position. Down onto the beach side now, we have OOREDOO Thunders with the only one crashing up right on side of them. They have a little bit of space between them. Two of them caught a little bit closer to OOREDOO Thunders. And remember, OOREDOO Thunders, they've been so quiet this match so far. 0 eliminations found. They just avoided everyone, as now they're looking to breach the only one.
It's gonna be difficult. There's a third-party potential from GEEKAY, maybe Triple Esports on the hills on the cliffside down towards the southwestern edge of the circle. That's a lovely nade to get the job done on one of the only one players. This is a team that I'm not really the most confident of coming into this third super weekend. Luffy's down, N7R is down. The DPS shots go flying, and OOREDOO Thunders, they may suffer 2 knocks, but they seem to have the majority of the fight under control. As the final player, the only one, he's further away. He's just ducking, dipping, diving, and dodging.
He was able to, I guess, survive for himself, but left the rest of them to just bleed on out to the likes of OOREDOO Thunder. And of course, who is a GEEKAY in the distance, a third party against them. This time, though, Major Pride, I mean, they're not on with the action yet, as Yen gets blown up. Only Nomi to defend against the likes of Triple Esports.
I like this from Major Pride, though, to be fair. As a 3-person team, it's really the best combination to go for. 2 in the boogie, 1 from behind, so you're able to create a bit of a distraction point. The revive is coming through. Triple don't really feel confident enough to push it. The pre-fire shots are frozen. Will scale Triple Esports back. Ali on one side, push on the other. Shots from Major Pride. This is a wonderful turnaround. Yen and Nomi doing great work to keep their team going strong in this game. Looking for another frozen force down, but he's going to return fire, retaliate wonderfully. Triple R eliminated.
To put Nomi in the back, that was the critical angle they needed to win this fight against Triple Esports, because Triple Esports, they were stuck in the depths below, and they can only look in one direction at one time, right? As GEEKAY, Ragnar, the lone member still left alive, doing heavy damage to CONQUEROR on this hillside.
Wow, we're down to 8 teams, 20 players. GEEKAY is a solo down in the dip. CONQUEROR Rack has just Groza left alive, but possibly 2 revives on the table remains to be seen. POWR Esports come in for the northern tip. You have the final player of Falcon as well around this area. And SKYROCKET, as far as I know, they remain as a full squad.
POWR so dominant here on this side, right? I believe it's 3 members up, as one is, I just jinxed them, Imperium, because one just fell down to his knees. It's only Conte and Ozzy. As they creep on their bellies a little bit closer, but an entire team of SKYROCKET, like the Great Wall, preventing them from getting closer to the circle.
Off the man gets knocked. Great play, great proactivity for SKYROCKETs. You're up to 4 eliminations. They've been somewhat quiet, a little bit like the likes of OOREDOO Thunders, right? But when they need to wake up, when they need to smell the coffee and get involved, that's what they're doing. It doesn't stop them from suffering the brunt of shots from the utility that's coming out in the hands of POWR Esports. The second aid will get another knock. Easy, most likely going to lose his life at the hands of Kante. Great work by POWR.
Great work from POWR. I like how spread out they are despite not having any sort of hard cover, and SKYROCKET funneling their entire team into this one shack and being outside the circle with no vehicles. It's pretty much a pigeonhole that they cannot get out of. POWR now ascending though, and it's going to be the 2 versus 2, the victors of the shack.
Oh, shots from Salah will catch Kante off guard. That's great play. Sorry, not Kante, as is, I apologize. As Kante is the last player up, but Rip is there to support his teammate, and they do end up getting the squad up onto POWR Esports. Great attempt. They had to go for the push. The circle is against them. It is outside of where they were pushing, but they had to go for the eliminations.
There are no compounds or hard cover really left in the circle, just that huge road down the northern side to divide the lines, and it's really preventing Falcons, SKYROCKETs, and even OOREDOO Thunders from having a free entry in. Pride, Nomi though, ever the thorn in the side, just to the side of OOREDOO Thunders with his grenades. He's looking for a knock, and he's looking to engage on as many eliminations as possible, as they have already found. Actually, OOREDOO Thunders has now found 7 and is the only team with all 4 members still up.
For a Major Pride up to 13 eliminations. This is absolutely glorious. This team started off a little bit shaky. Were confidently going into the first Super Weekend, but didn't really match that performance. And over the last couple of weeks, they have indeed found their form, found their balance. And day one, the first game of the Super Weekend number 3, they may still only have 3 players, but they're playing as a full squad united.
United indeed, and that's what you need in this end game, to play as one organism, not as separate identities. OOREDOO Thunders, though, they know where some of these members of Major Pride are at. Nomi has a little bit of that soft cover with the smoke. We see the crate come in that may be able to play a huge factor as a little bit of hard cover, but still, it's the solos on the edges as they try to survive a little bit longer.
OOREDOO Thunders have done a great job, to be fair. 2-2 split. They're now outside the circle, though, as the shift does go in the favor of Major Pride. They might want to scale back again, still have 3 players up. But Hamko is going to be able to catch Frozen off guard, per se, a little bit. Like I said, the 2-2 split from OOREDOO Thunders is putting so much pressure on Major Pride's position.
Nomi coming on back, has to go for the revive onto Frozen. So at least right now the numbers are in the favor of OOREDOO Thunder. 4 members still up, 2.5, I guess I would say, of Major Pride. Osama using this as an opportunity to crawl just a little bit closer without them knowing and not giving a lot of information. But oh man, it's starting out now.
Yen in the backline doing a great job at slowing down OOREDOO Thunder, whittling it down to a clean 3v3, but Osama springs around, gets one, looks for the second, can't quite find it. Frozen is on the swivel, but he's gonna get knocked. We're looking at a 1v3 against Major Pride. A hell of amount of work, up to 15 eliminations in this game, but it looks like their day is numbered in the hands of OOREDOO Thunders playing on the eastern side. These teams have ended up clashing at the very end of the game, as Yen, I don't know if he's been quite spotted out.
No.
Again, he's not outside the circle. OOREDOO Thunders are looking to play in. They see the smokes. They know they can drive around. Hamko's going to do this typical PL endgame, runs them over, and gets the chicken dinner for OOREDOO Thunders.
We love to see it when the team is so confident at the end. They send, their players out on flanks and vehicles to just roll over. That's the quickest end, and I guess the fastest way to put them out of their misery.
Yeah.
So well won out from OOREDOO Thunders.
It was once again, though, still a fantastic game for Major Pride, right? They, like I said, they got themselves 15 eliminations throughout the game. It's kind of ironic that the 2 teams that ended up being the last 2 teams alive were both kind of controlling one side of the map, you could say, right? OOREDOO Thunders, yeah, okay, a little bit more southeast, but they were still controlling that eastern swivel, and Major Pride just dominated the western side.
It's very on brand for Major Pride, because last weekend, so many times they came in 2nd place, almost a chicken dinner, but they had absolutely the most number of eliminations in the lobby, as we see here in just those match rankings. 15 compared to the 11 of OOREDOO Thunders.
Team Falcons picking themselves up 17 points is nothing but a positive thing, especially when you look at where they are in the Super Weekend overall standings, right? If they stick in this direction, they will gladly move ahead to the likes of Rad and will comfortably put themselves into the finals, no doubt. Similar with CONQUEROR, right? 9 points. It's still kind of on that average per game that you're looking for.
Yeah, if you're a team that didn't qualify in the Super Weekends, you're hyper analyzing these points, right? You're doing math after every single match. So a team like Rad, like a team like 4K that are kind of close to that benchmark, they're like, crap, like the teams at the very bottom are doing well, and I'm starting to get a little bit worried.
Just game by game, as you look at the standings in the second half of this game one, GEEKAY picked themselves up 4, Triple Esports picked themselves up 2. The only one in 90th minute, right? 1 and 0 points respectfully. They're the two teams that are kind of, like I said, I don't have the most amount of confidence in 90th minute coming into this game in 18th place in the overall standings. It's not a good start for them both.
No, 90th minute is just one of those teams at the very bottom that we're looking at that still needs to perform to qualify. So yeah, like you said, starting it off with 0 points. That's just okay.
Yeah.
Instead of 15 matches to try to get 100 plus odd points, now they only have 14.
Yeah, and as you look at the upper moments as well, Monica, it's also important to kind of highlight SKYROCKET and VISTA Gaming from this game one. SKYROCKET's got themselves 14 points, so like FALCONS and CONQUEROR, a good push for them to move ahead of the likes of the only one in the Super Weekend standings. And VISTA, they got themselves 6 points. It's by no means enough, but I still want to highlight it in a positive way because they got 5 eliminations out of their total 6 points.
So if SKYROCKET wants to qualify, they had 104 points from last weekend, right? They need 89 points this weekend to jump over Rad. And so they've already found 14 points. So this is a good start for them because now they're at, what, 70 odd points that they need for the rest of the 14 matches.
So like 89, you divide that by 15, they require 6 points per game in this Super Weekend. They've already over doubled that, right? So yeah, that's a massive positive. Again, it is still important that all of these teams that are kind of down towards the bottom, fighting for the top 16, fighting for a spot in the finals, that they do still take it game by game, because we've seen it before. A team can go from 17-25, a chicken dinner result, to 0 point game in the next game, and that's not good for momentum. It's not good for confidence, and more importantly, it's not good for the point building.
Yeah, it's not good also to keep your hands warm, right? You play an entire match, you win it, to go out first in the next match, right? Now, instead of waiting maybe 10 minutes for the next match to start, you're waiting 30, 35 minutes. So so what, you can play TDMs for 35 minutes, or you're just going to sit and just not think about PUBG for that long? It's just, it's not, like you said, the momentum needs to keep there all day.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if we're going to have overall standings. Hopefully we will. Before I get an answer on that, we do have the Grizzly Bear collection, a wonderful card collection in game. It does finish soon enough, so definitely get it while you can. You can get all the items in one go. And Monica, I did hear that you were giving us a couple of bear facts, but according to Andre, our producer, they were pretty terrible bear facts.
You know what? They were good for on the spot being asked for a bear fact, okay?
I don't know, Monica. I know.
That's like if I asked you, like, give me a fact about this random thing, and you didn't have any time to think about it. You're like, come up with something off the top of your head.
You should always have a random bear fact at the top of your head ready to go. So, you know what? I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about a bear fact while I tell you about the wonderful ingredients and the Grand Banquet event where you can get the ingredients and make more dishes. Let's share and spread our happiness together in game. And along the while, you can get yourself a fantastic discount up to 70% off if you get a group discount for the event. So like I said, get the ingredients to make more dishes. Let's share and spread our happiness together. Monica, does your bear fact spread happiness?
Okay. In the 5 seconds I was given to find a bear fact, did you know that pandas have one extra bone in their body that they have evolved to have to eat bamboo? They have an elongated wrist bone on the front of each paw that functions like a thumb. So they are, I believe, the only bear that actually has an opposable thumb.
Honestly, That's actually pretty kick-ass. Not gonna lie, that's
Yes.
an awesome fact. That's an A+ fact in my eyes. I really
Yes.
didn't know that. But what I do know is the overall rankings from the second Super Weekend. GEEKAY, of course, nothing really too much to talk about. Twisted Minds dropping down to 5th because the NASR Esports played an extra game on 4K. I believe still in 7th, but will most likely move down to 8th after the second game.
Like it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter this first
Well,
part. I mean,
it kind of,
it's
with
yeah,
all due respect, it doesn't for the teams in the
yeah.
top 8, right? Yeah.
So the teams in the bottom 8, though, we're seeing a little bit of we haven't really seen that big of the changes yet, but the points are starting to get a little bit closer, right? We saw Falcons do really well. We saw, of course, OOREDOO Thunders do really well as well, and Rad. They're not a team that's in for this weekend, so that 193 is going to be stagnant this entire weekend.
10 points divide CONQUEROR and the only one esports, so that does put a continued amount of pressure onto the only one. Team Falcons moving ahead of the only one, so they've already slipped down a place, and as the likes of OOREDOO Thunders and Road to Glory maybe pick up the pace in the rest of today's games, it's only going to become harder for the likes of the only one esports, and again, they're not the only team, because SKYROCKETs, as we look at the last page of the overall standings, they picked themselves up a decent amount of points, so they're once again closer to the only one esports.
Okay, Vista Gaming, 6 points, right? That was all that they got from that first game, and this is the first and only Super Weekend game that they've had. So we said it at the beginning, if Vista Gaming wants to qualify, they need to come over the benchmark of 193 points of Rad. So they need to have a weekend like GEEKAY had last weekend, where they were just winning almost every single Erangel match, but they need to just play out of their minds if they want to make it to finals.
I'm not going to kind of talk too much about what they need at the moment, because one, they had 15 games coming into today, and they still have 14 at the moment. Though, if they do keep on track of this 6 points per game that they got from the first game, it will only put them on 90 points. That does give you a bit of an idea, gives everybody a bit of an idea of what they need to do going forward as we are into the second game of the day.
Miramar. So this is a little bit different from league play, right? We saw 3 Erangels, 2 Miramars, or 3 Miramars and 2 Erangels. So now this is going back to what we know, right? 2 Erangels in a day, or sorry, 3 Erangels in a day, 1 Miramar, and then 1 Sanhok as well. And Pierre, there was something that I did talk to Highland Wolf about. So when we have it like this, where the maps are constantly flipping back and forth between Erangel, Miramar, and Sanhok, it's a little harder for teams to stay or just be aware of it, right? If a mistake happened here in Miramar, it's a whole nother 24 hours until tomorrow, until they play Miramar again, right? So it's a little bit harder to correct your mistakes here, just because there's so much time in between the maps.
And it's a little bit off topic to an extent, but that is something that I'd love to see in future events. Where they do have 2 or 3 Erangels in a row, followed by 2 or 3 Miramars in a row, or even 2 Sanhoks in a row. So it does give a little bit of an easier and maybe more exciting opportunity for teams to learn more quickly from the mistakes of one Erangel game to another, one Miramar game to another, one Sanhok game to another. Until we get it, though, it is something that the teams are familiar with, and they might not be as familiar with this phase 1 circle.
That is a harsh Northwestern one to start things off. I know a team like 90th Minute, they've gone where it seems like everywhere that Twisted Minds used to drop, because they're not, of course, not in this weekend, seems to be just, easy pickings for all the other teams in the lobby. So this time, 90th Minute is going to take it. And they could set themselves up well here, because they have pretty free entries here. If they quickly loot on up and then get up into that northern part, there's not really going to be anybody on their side of the world beyond NIGMA Galaxy.
But do they have what it takes? 0 points in game 1. They've already lost 1 spot to Falcons. They're very close to losing another at the hands of CONQUEROR. It's only gonna become harder if they don't step up their pace. Falcon Esports a little bit risky on the rotation ahead of. All right. Can't quite go as close to San Martin as I like because of that plane path.
Oh man, yeah, we saw them last game. We were like, oh man, all forward a vehicle is smooth sailing for them because they're not buying anybody. This time though, if I was the driver, I wouldn't be even driving that anymore. So 2 games in a row, Falcon has been dealt a really bad plane path for where they drop.
Okay. All right. I was thinking, will you like kind of continue to look in the direction of Falcon? And in my eyes, they shouldn't really continue to chase this. Yeah, okay, they picked up 1 knock, but I gotta say credit to them because their resilience and they're kind of like, okay, we're gonna stick at it. Has paid off for now.
Well, they know that Falcons doesn't have any loot, right? Maybe pick up an odd shack. Maybe they loot it up, right? But these players here, they're literally free eliminations, just running into the hills. All right, they have that whole compound to get, but where they're getting these eliminations, they were definitely losing the time to properly loot up and then rotate into the circle.
That does beg a question, though, because you highlight that this is kind of 2nd game in a row where Falcons have been dealt an unfortunate blow with the plane path. Surely it would help them if they had a secondary drop spot, right? And that is a little bit easier if the plane path doesn't complement their normal drop spot.
Falcons, though, I mean, they can't even put up a fight at this point. Now it's just Never Alone. Another member, I mean, giving a little bit of a fight back, but it's actually Road to Glory to come in 3rd party. Okay, now the tables have turned onto the likes of RA.
I feel even worse for Falcons, though, because it's not just 1 team. It's a 2nd team. They still have a solo player up as Volta's going to get caught off guard. Another player from R8 around this area as Nabo tries to dodge and weave. The bullet speed spread out by Nabo. He cannot dodge anymore and he goes down. Nabo, now in the distance, away from Prestige, is going to look to maybe try and confirm those eliminations onto both SK and Ida. His teammate is still further away. They are still up as a full squad, but their 2 teammates are all the way in power grid, so a little bit further away.
Okay, so Road to Glory, I like their aggression here and definitely being able to spot out this opportunity. R8, I was like, yay, great aggression coming out for them. But I mean, you did allude to it. You're like, I'm a little scared for them. I don't know if I would commit to it this much, and they committed it so much that they now cannot get out of this situation with Road to Glory.
I think okay.
Oh no,
Falcons. Like, I actually feel sorry for them. Will somebody please give them a break? Like, that feels sad, man. Sad, man.
Falcons, they were sitting at 16th place before this match, by the way. So this is just, oh man. So where who was it? Just was it Vista? No, who was it that didn't have a great first game this last one? Now it's their turn, and for them to be out this early, that's to the absolute delight of teams like CONQUEROR, 90th minute, and VISTA Gaming that are below them, that are striving to leap above them.
As well as the only one, right? You're dead right. This is a great game too. If you're those teams that we've just mentioned, easier to keep an eye on the elimination feed in this early stage of the game, and they will have seen all the 4 players of Falcons kind of go down, and it's like, oh, okay, is that Falcons eliminated? Yeah, we're down to this many players, most likely the case. They still have to get their own result themselves, right? There's no point in Falcons going down early if the teams we just mentioned go down early as well. So the hard work is still ahead.
You know that emoji combination where it's like eyeball, lip, eyeball, like really big, when it's like, ooh, something like really kind of delicious just happened, or really something really cool. That's all of these teams looking at the kill feeds, seeing Falcons go out in 16th position, like, ooh, yummy.
Monica, I didn't really need a glimpse into the emoji pattern
come on
of you, but thank you for that insight.
Like TMI, be like, huh? Is it like, sorry, I forgot you were a boomer, so emojis like are not your language of communication. I should have done like
I still use the semicolon.
I was about to say, I was like, should I have done the semicolon, capital P, with the tongue sticking out?
Yeah, please. Yeah, that would have been more familiar. Like,
He's like, oh, now I know the emotion that you're trying to convey with the semicolon and P.
There you go. There you go. Jesus Christ. This game is continuing on. We are 8 minutes in. By the way, most of the perspective has been on this kind of Picado Hill area that's involved R8, RTG, and Falcons. We've already lost Falcons as they tried to move away. They ended up going down, but the two teams of R8 and RTG are still alive.
R8, they're comfortable in the standings, right? They're in top 8. They can afford to commit to this a little bit. Road to Glory a little bit below them in the 12th position. Only J9 left alive. So I mean, he hears the vehicle. Obviously, he can hear the buggies start to rev. He's got the. I mean, this could be a wasted grenade for sure. But if I was J9, I would just let Road to Glory or R8 just go, right, and then just try to survive as a solo.
Yeah. Definitely indeed. All the while, like NASR swinging in from the southeastern direction of this phase 1. So that's something that the likes of RTG and R8 within reason should be certainly more aware of. NIGMA Galaxy did technically lose a player. I think a vehicle blew up, but as far as I know, he's being revived in that regard. 90th minute going onto the crater field. Heal is fantastic, and phase 2 shifts over to the east.
I could have probably predicted it would come back in the mainland. We did of course have that one that went, remember, the western row or mountainside, and it just kept going out there to the absolute horror of all the teams here. But you're seeing a lot of teams, especially like SKYROCKET, identifying that northern side is probably going to be more free based on how far south that plane path is, and you see them doing that wide rotate, trying to come up on the northern edge.
Great for CONQUEROR. They have the water treatment hill, or I suppose the hill that's more west to the water treatment hole, but I still look at it as an absolutely beautiful location to lock down inside this phase 2.
POWR, they had a pretty good run in the last Erangel match. They like to play very split up, which is good. I like how confident they're doing, but sometimes they are caught by themselves, right? They're so split up to the point that they can't really assist each other, and oftentimes we find them maybe only 2 players left alive trying to make their way into the late game. And Triple Esports, they're comfortable on the blue, right? They're just tanking it, and that's kind of the beauty of playing kind of on the edge side, that they, even though they're tanking the blue, it's early game enough that they can avoid that early game combat. So if they opt for that later push later on, it's dangerous because you can go through more squads, but you also avoid the risk of just losing those players.
Last player of RTG, NASR Esports, climbing, moving ever closer to his position on this Picado hillside area. The only one are to the northern side of Power Grid as well, close by to is the OOREDOO Thunder, as far as I know it is. So NASR could get distracted by the 2 teams to the west of them and avoid J9, the final player of RTG.
NASR, a team that's been really dominating the standings, currently at 3rd position. But YALLA, I mean, we know they can play well. They didn't have that great of a go in the last match, and CONQUEROR is definitely giving them a run for their money as they've gone for a knock and a flush. But it's going to be POWR this time around to be right in the faces of YALLA. I mean, they're both sharing this compound just outside of water treatment, and the fight is about to break out now.
Could see a bit of a third party from VISTA Gaming, maybe even possibly CONQUEROR to the west of YALLA and POWR Esports. YALLA have a better spread, and I think they do, within reason, have POWR Esports locked down. The big player that can really make a difference for POWR in my eyes is Kante on the off-angle side. But like I said, VISTA Gaming are looking to get involved from a third party. They've actually sent 2 players a little bit down towards the direction of both of these teams.
VISTA Gaming, definitely a team. I mean, they're sitting at, what, 6 points right now after the first game and not making any single super weekend yet. Coming in, perfect third party, catching one out in the open on the side of the hills, go for immediate flush as well. So YALLA now, I mean, the tides are pretty even in this fight against POWR, but they're giving one right back at them. But VISTA Gaming, they're lingering in the distance.
I really appreciate this from VISTA Gaming, because like, they kind of know that it's do or die. We've technically got nothing to lose. We gotta kind of take a couple of risks, and this is a kind of risk that they can't afford to take. 3 players pushing on the underside of the hill. YALLA are looking to pinch POWR Esports in their own right. Shots towards late by Othman doesn't quite connect, but Reva is going to help to take down Faker. A third party by CONQUEROR on the hill to the north of these 2 to 3 teams. And Dino on the underside as well. He's further away, but he's still helping to give information over to the rest of his team.
Nice repeat in hand. He hears the footsteps of one, comes over and strafes it as he's, I mean, this is a really drawn out 1v1 fight, but getting shot in the side from Conquer. So, I mean, this is the 4th party, and we keep seeing this happen, Imperium.
Oh my god, Evo Station through the smoke. Tries to connect onto Othman and does. Whittles him down to less than half health. CONQUEROR doing such a good job. What was 4th party? Now technically 3rd party.
Yeah. Now technically 3rd, but oh man, VISTA Gaming. I mean, I think they're biting off a little bit more than they can chew, because they have one. Still, you can barely see in the miniature map. You can barely see this compound to give some support. They currently have 1 knock. Actually, 1 just got revived, but POWR going for the flush up now. VISTA Gaming. I mean, they really wanted to come in for the 3rd party, but their fragging POWR is just not backing up this push.
It's more the coordination, once again, to me, isn't quite there. It's like, it gets to a point, but then it stops. And, like, Evo Station probably shouldn't have been on his own there, right?
Yeah.
It should have been 2 to 3 players pushing absolutely together. Maybe the risk of a 3rd party from CONQUEROR slowed them down. It discombobulated them. And now as they try to disengage, there's not the fullest amount of security on them getting away from both CONQUEROR and POWR Esports.
VISTA one in the, what are we calling it? The beep beep bus? Is that what it was?
It's a party bus.
Jake?
No, it's party
the
bus.
Party bus. The party beep beep bus? Okay, but
No.
Major Pride, he's like, no, just stop talking about it at all. But the only one, Major Pride, they're finding themselves right next to each other.
Oh, the only one can afford to lose this one. Nomi drops down. The drop shot connects wonderfully. And Alush is the final player up for his team. Nomi does have to try and scale back. Sorry, I apologize. It is 2 against 1. Nomi goes upstairs. The pre-fire shot will take down the final player, Major Pride. And the only one to survive. They get 4 eliminations, but they're down to a duo.
That has to be such a confidence booster for the only one, especially this team who's really near that cut-off point, to take out a team like Major Pride that is renowned for their fragging power, their aggression. Remember, they came in with, 15 eliminations the last match. They didn't even win the match. So huge factor taking them out early. And I think that's going to open the gates for the team closer to the bottom, like VISTA, like SKYROCKETs and such, as we see this circle move over onto that northwestern side hardship.
This feels like one of the more fast-paced Miramar games that have casted so far in PMPL Arabia. It's kind of like I've barely been able to keep an eye on all the circle shifts because of the amount of action that's come down, and alright, have themselves in an absolutely fantastic position.
The only one. He said there were only 2 left right on the outskirts of Power Grid. But we're going to take a look back replay real quick as GEEKAY. We were wondering, where did this last member of, or that first member that went out from NIGMA Galaxy go out? And that's exactly what happened. GEEKAY finding that elimination.
And the only one under a lot of pressure outside the Power Grid. And 7R on his own. Alusha's further in the back line, but unlikely to be in a position to help him. Alusha's across the road at least. So he is technically closer to the edge of the circle, but where he's pathing towards into the edge of the circle is just wide out in the open on the underside of the road outside San Martin. So I can't see the only one surviving too much longer in this game.
YWZ, they left him behind as the rest of his teammates have, you can see it in the miniature map, rotated ahead, right, in Triple Esports. So he stayed back to really go after the solo. If, at some point that solo needs to vacate the premises and try to rotate in. So already the rest of his team has a foothold in the door of the circle, now they've come onto the other side. And I mean, the only one, they've got nowhere to go.
Yeah, and I appreciate this from Triple Esports. It's not like they're sticking to the engagement for the sake of it, but they're also not just disengaging, blindly. They have prepped that very well, and they know they need to move into this circle, right? Because phase 4 did shift over towards the northwest.
SKYROCKET, another team that needs a really big weekend to qualify into finals. Still all 4 up as we have Lord. How does NIGMA Galaxy, this always happens to them. They're found with only 1 player up, right? And then he's just playing as a solo. We've seen them have some crazy 1v2s, 1v3s at the ends of matches, but to come into the late game with 1 only, you're just playing for survival and you're just playing to clean up on as many eliminations as possible, but there's no real true fragging power.
Is just NIGMA just do NIGMA things at the moment, and I'm just not kind of really. I'm no like in terms of I'm just not really worried too much about them, right? They are playing the long ball game in my eyes into this PMPL Triple Esports. The party bus certainly does. Create a bit of a party as it flips over. We'll get back on its wheels as YWZ3 the 1 or 2 players up for the rest of his team, and unlikely to see themselves survive for much longer as RTG do end up going down. GEEKAY are the ones who try and gatekeep Triple Esports into the closing parts of this circle.
Triple Esports looking to ascend the hill, but GEEKAY, they what's going for Triple Esports is that GEEKAY is a little bit split up, but it's going to be the grenade from Ragnar to stop the ascent as Triple Esports. I mean, they've got a lot of wounds to lick to heal on up. And GEEKAY, they have the high upper ground as now all 4 have come to the same spot to look down upon them.
A lot of action cluster teams on this direct southern side of the circle outside of San Martin, scaling up the hill to the compound. Alright, have somewhat in control. I say somewhat because they just have a player knocked down, I think at the hands of OOREDOO Thunders, but NASR on the other side of the hill, so it might be a little bit more of an isolated fight scale from either side for R8, and it could be quite difficult to deal with.
OOREDOO Thunder is coming up from that San Martin City side up on the hillsides. So it's the point of who can keep control of the highest point in the circle. As we've seen a circle land here previously, and it was the one who could stay on top, could really just regulate and control where the other teams are allowed to come, and then just able to funnel them and just pick off those eliminations. OOREDOO Thunders, though, I mean, they are, one is going to be knocked from the likes of NASR from the back end side. So NASR, I mean, they're running out of time. They're taking the blue this late in the game. It's going to do heavy damage.
You gotta focus on one direction, one engagement once, right? I understand being aware of your backs, but again, focus on what is in front of you. OOREDOO Thunders, you allowed Alright to pick up a couple of knocks because you weren't coordinated as POWR loses. Osman and NASR covering their backs in a wonderful way, and POWR Esports are eliminated.
That was, oh man, that was just a full send last ditch effort. OOREDOO Thunders, where they saw NASR from the outside, now have seen where they've come ashore onto this side of the mountainside. I mean, they're down below, and they have a whole other team onto their other side as NASR. I mean, this is stuck between a rock and a hard place. That is VISTA Gaming and OOREDOO Thunders.
1 nade down in the dip. That's gonna see NASR go down. 1 knock followed by a couple more, possibly. Hassan is gonna be somewhat on his own as Hamko's knocked down to his knees. That does give a little bit of an opportunity for NASR Esports to stay alive. Alright, opting not to get involved in a third party. The final player of the only one, by the way, has been able to make it across into the edge of the circle as SKYROCKET in their own fight against CONQUEROR.
CONQUEROR won against the world of the entire team of SKYROCKET. So it's a tale of the underdogs really taking over the titans of the lobby, as we already saw huge teams going out. NASR, though, Hassan, he's trying to go for himself, but he actually was able to beat out OOREDOO Thunder.
Yeah, he was. I don't know exactly what happened, but NASR clutched up in that regard, and he picks up his teammate, making note of that fantastic feature that the game has, and he's going to bring him into the edge of the circle. Hopefully get the revive. 90th minute, have made it into the top 9, but without any real fight, they're going to end up being swarmed down if they don't deal with the northern edge of the circle. SKYROCKET is getting the better of them for the time being. And knock goes against SKYROCKET, however, and creates a bit of an open space for 90th minute to get a revive. 2v3 against SKYROCKET.
Got about 25 seconds left before the blue zone starts to encompass them. 90th minute needs a huge game here. They cannot afford to be taken out by the likes of SKYROCKET, but it's the grenades back and forth Imperium who can win it out.
Nice nade by Imad, followed by a molly, one in return. Either side, they both have the same idea. Revive being come out on towards the side of 90th minute. So Imad is somewhat on his own. Salam yet to get revived, but SKYROCKETs are back up as a 3-person team. Salam is able to get up. So it's SKYROCKET's full squad. 90th minute not taking advantage. Now they're down to just one player. Cholo's down. So is the rest of 90th minute. And that is a clean squad wipe by SKYROCKET. Shouldn't have gotten away with it, but that is the passive player 90th minute being exposed.
90th minute just didn't put up a fight. Like, they were just waiting there. Triple Esports, though. Oh, it's going to be one clever taken down by the likes of the only run. Remember those solos that were left out into the blue. Now coming to bite them in the butt. GEEKAY, the only team in the circle, but everyone looking at them to try to get on it.
Much better game for VISTA Gaming in the second run of the Super Weekend number 3. Their second opportunity to make a bit of a challenge coming into the finals. Hell of a mountain to climb, but 6 eliminations in this game too. They're into the top 5. That's going to be a decent amount of points. Can they grab themselves a chicken dinner as the circle centers up into the open ground? It's going to be very difficult for them and any of these remaining 5 teams to grab a win. I say it's all guns a-blazing. It's any one of these remaining teams that can come out on top.
The unfortunate part of being too far into the central circle, like we saw Satan, is everybody's eyes are on him as he is now caught up by himself. No way to get revived as SKYROCKETs. They're committing a lot of utilities into flushing this one player, though, as we see he is taken out. VISTA Gaming now on the receiving end of shots from SKYROCKETs over on that northeastern side. So can they recover from this one? But SKYROCKETs, look at how much control they have on this northern side.
Such a great spread. They are doing a great job of conducting this beautiful symphony of destruction in game 2 Super Weekend number 3. VISTA able to somewhat avoid them for the time being as they have a lower edge of this mountain. But as the circle shifts down to the southwest, you can see SKYROCKETs have a much easier entry point into the edge of the circle if they focus on GEEKAY that have a bit of a northwestern stranglehold for the time being. All right, in their own right, hold down the southern side, still CR7 outside the circle. It's not a bad thing as SKYROCKETs get the push, get the crasher looking for GEEKAY. Ragnar is going to be taken out, and that's SKYROCKETs with a successful push.
SKYROCKET they just had the man advantage, the hyper aggression, sending it right into the midst of GEEKAY. So as SKYROCKETs is looking for RA on one side, it's going to be VISTA onto the other.
Oh, double, triple, boiling, Broblitz, 1-2, Unifu for R8 as they pick out 2 players of SKYROCKETs, and that allows VISTA to come in on the underside, get a pick off one of the R8 players, whittle them down to just Prestige. This could be a VISTA Gaming chicken dinner, Monica.
It could be. R8 just caught in the bad side of the sandwich, an R8 sandwich, and it's rotting now as SKYROCKETs and VISTA Gaming. Man, oh man, they came in at the exact same time to pin them on out. It's only 2 up for R8, and this is looking dire for them.
For the second game in a row, second time in a row, SKYROCKETs have got themselves back up to a majority team as they are left with 3 players up. RRR looking for the R in return fire, in return action as R8 go down, but VISTA Gaming are on the swivel. RRR is knocked, Rip is on his own. This is a 1v1 and Molly goes on the underside, but they can't clip the right side of the hill.
VISTA Gaming, though, they came out at the best time possible, let all the action come out, and they're here to reap the benefits. Oh no, it was the grenade to come on out in Pyramid at the last second. Did he actually get the revive up, or did he just cancel and just throw a grenade when he knew they were healing?
He just threw a nade. It was the perfect nade. I saw it and I was like, wait, he's not going for the revive. That's been tracked out. And boom, the most beautiful nade that they could have thrown. The most beautiful nade that could set them on the path to the PMPL finals of VISTA Gaming, Monica. They grabbed themselves a chicken dinner.
Okay, I want to point out, any player's instinct in this kind of situation would be revive and then come with 2 players,
Yeah.
right, and try to overcome, right? So he just went against all instinct, canceled reviving, right, and just threw the grenade. And okay, the first grenade he threw, it was long, right? It's hard to throw grenades in Miramar because of the like steepness of the hills where it just rolls on down. So the second one, he was able to learn and just throw it a little bit more shy and bounce right into the faces of SKYROCKET.
Like that was just a perfect nade, and I'm really glad you highlighted the instinctual nature that normally would be the case, because when you don't do the natural play in terms of going for the revive and you take that little bit of a risk, that's the reward. And 25 juicy, super duper duper important points for Vista Gaming, but credit along the way for SKYROCKETs, right? Picking themselves up 25 points as well.
You can say that was the $1,000 nade for Vista Gaming. So even though SKYROCKET was able to equal their points just because they fragged a little bit harder with 13 points, it was still Vista. I mean, the prize money is only with that chicken dinner. So well won from Vista Gaming, especially as a team coming into the Super Weekend with 0 points.
Fair play to the only one Esports picking up 9 points. CONQUEROR picked up 5, 90th minute picked up 5. So kind of the biggest losers of this second game arguably would have been Team Falcons, because they're not in the top 8, right? Whereas all the other teams around them did get them a decent amount of points as you look at the second page.
Second page, looking at this one. So we have, I think having the teams that normally you would see dominate this lobby, like Major Pride, like NIGMA Galaxy, even Falcons, YALLA, going out so early that really just open up that end game where you're not having this huge Titan on this side of the map and just, you know, soaking up all those eliminations. So the teams like Vista, like SKYROCKET, they have the opportunities now to get those 25 points that they did.
Definitely, it certainly to an extent did open the door for them to get the result, but they still needed to do it. And Vista Gaming, they got the job done, but their journey is far from over. We're going to go for a short break. We will be back on your screens for Game 3 in a couple of minutes.
Let's go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the PMPL Arabia Fall Split 2022. Brought to you by the fantastic folks over at Reno. Upgraded performance and upgraded fun. Celebrate your winning spirit with the brand new Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G, the designated smartphone for PUBG Mobile, Middle East and Africa, Esports 2022. And of course, the wonderful Monster Energy Drink, the official energy drink for PUBG Mobile Esports. Thank you very much to both of those sponsors. And we are into the somewhat midpoint of this game, Monica. We're heading into game 3. What do you evaluate so far?
We're going to Erangel again, right? So the team that won the first Erangel today was it OOREDOO Thunders, right? If I can remember correctly. It's happened. It literally happened 30 minutes ago, and we're forgetting already. But anyway, yes, OOREDOO Thunders did win it, but I think the reason why we're not remembering is because Major Pride definitely stole the spotlight away with their massive amount of eliminations.
Yeah, and it's definitely a positive thing that we're kind of going back to Erangel and we're able to somewhat draw on the game 1 experience. However, there's something to be said for the likes of Vista Gaming and the momentum they're technically building for themselves across the first 2 games. 6 points in game 1, a chicken dinner, and 25 points in game 2. That's 31 in 2 games. That's a pretty healthy average if you look at what they need to do in the third super weekend. The unfortunate thing for them is that there are a number of teams above them that are still getting decent results.
To give you guys some reference, just looking at week number 1, the average amount of points that a team got was 104 points versus week number 2, where the average was about 98. And this is taking GEEKAY, of course, outlier, just dominating the entire lobby, taking them out of the equation, right? So that's kind of the benchmark. You're like, hey, our goal just to even compete with these teams is to try to hit 100 points in the entire weekend. So for Vista to already get, 31 points in just the first 2 games, they are really setting a good pace for the rest of the weekend.
Definitely. The playing path, really nothing to complain about, right? It's generally slap bang in the middle. It's a little bit diagonal. Most teams will be able to get to where they want to.
Most teams, yeah. This was with the first Erangel batch today. We had very far southwest, correct? So the teams like Falcons, like Road to Glory, had kind of a rough start because they couldn't get all the way over to Yaznaida right at the beginning. I think Falcons, they eventually made it there after we saw them get in the cars, right, and rotate there. But they did lose out on those, 3-4 minutes just to rotate up into the Yaznaida area, just to have to rotate on back because it did end up in that farm coastline.
Interesting. Major Pride maybe didn't feel confident in attempting to go for a South George drop because of the lack of vehicles somewhat to the kind of northern side of the river, and RA probably could have gotten there first to an extent.
Yeah.
So they've looked to drop around a kind of Novo area, which they haven't done in the past. The only unfortunate thing is that SKYROCKET have looked to do the same thing.
They did something once similar to this, Imperium. It was, I want to say it was last weekend. There was a plane path, but they couldn't get all the way over to South Georgia Pole Hospital area. So they landed in Novo Crates instead. And that game did not fare well for them. They ended up going out in, I want to say, 14th position way too early. So I don't know, just maybe not learning from past mistakes. They just don't seem to play well when they're not really familiar with that drop spot situation. They play the best when they go to their original drop spot in Georgia Pole and then try to come in from that area.
Phase 1 is once again a little bit more familiar in the form of a southwest shift. It does touch on a little bit of the military island, but for the most part it can go anywhere between South George and Primorsk. It all depends on how dangerous the PUBG Mobile gods are feeling.
how vengeful they're feeling, how sadistic I am sometimes with my casting and how critical I can be with teams. It's like, how sadistic can the PUBG Mobile gods be in this game?
Also, this will be a good test to see if it really is a Highland Wolf curse, because he kind of draws it towards the the GEEKAY area, and what we have now changed it to is the Highland Hills around GEEKAY. Yeah, it'll be a great test. I kind of hope it doesn't end up towards GEEKAY, just so like it will be funnier that it is a Highland Wolf thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in around GEEKAY.
I did notice that because like yesterday we were saying, well, actually this whole tournament was saying there was one tournament he had before where they had 7 Los Leones circles in a row, and then yesterday I pointed out, I'm like, every time Highland has casted Erangel, it keeps going to GEEKAY. So we're gonna see. Will this circle go elsewhere now that he isn't here? Maybe he's in chat though.
RTG and Stalbar and Kameshki is a split for the time being. They will want to be careful on their rotation into the northern half of the circle, because even though technically it's a less congested area compared to a direct eastern side, you have a couple of heavy hitters in the form of YALLA, GEEKAY, and FALCONS, so they will want to be careful.
Major Pride up onto the beach sides now, taking a little beach vacation, right? But this is interesting because they dropped in that military, that northern kind of Sanhok island part, and then now they've driven up the bridge, come over onto the Milta Power side, and they're gonna loot up this way. So they are really just, I mean, we're not in Kansas anymore. They're out, like they're out in like Alaska, right? Like super far away.
I love the way you made it like American geographical
reference.
I know,
as I said it, I'm
like, me no speak English. No,
okay,
no comprende.
We're not in Ireland anymore. We're in New Zealand.
Okay, there you go. That's a lot more.
I'm not gonna be. I know you made an American joke yesterday. I'm gonna be a little bit more global this time around and not be so contained in America.
Damn, I wasn't sure if you'd heard that. No, I knew because you're coming to chat. Yeah, I know.
I'm caught in 4K.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I like what Major Pride did, by the way. It technically makes sense because where they dropped, with not only knowing that there's a couple of teams around them already in the island, and probably being aware that there's a team on that kind of northern side of the river across the eastern bridge, or on that northern side of the mainland, rotating early and kind of playing on a later rotation idea coming into the edge of the circles. Again, it's just kind of avoiding stickiness too early in this game.
You know, not like how you point out how congested the Sanhok island is. On the exact flip side, R8 on that North Georgia Pole area too, they're probably not aware that Major Pride didn't come into South Georgia Pole, right? So R8 on that northern side, they might still be playing super, edge, trying to stay behind of Major Pride, completely unaware they have that entire northern part of the circle for free.
That's a really good observation, Monica, because you could argue that, well, surely they should have an idea, because Major Pride, they see the parachutes, or if they don't see the parachutes, they should presume. Major Pride could technically have dropped out of the plane around the kind of GEEKAY area, long bolted to around the hospital area where there is a couple of vehicles, and then gone to South Georgia, which in turn would have put them out of the sightlines of where R8 drops. You are really dead right about that. That probably is the case as the blue zone is closing in. So I'm curious to see if R8 will get a little bit more information around how clear it is in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely gonna watch this back later and be, oh man, we could have, taken up that Mount Everest side, etc., etc. But of course, hindsight is 2020, so that'll just be a little footnote for the notes in the future. NASR, they're gonna be coming in from that school area, rotating on past Pachinki. And once again, we highlighted before, NIGMA Galaxy, they play edge from the center of the circle, but then sometimes, like we see here, they kind of flip it and they try to play center, which I don't know, it usually doesn't work for them to have to play center strategy on one map and then play edge onto another. So they're always kind of flip-flopping their strategies on Erangel.
It seems like when it's a more Western circle, they are more comfortable about playing center. I don't know if you saw this match, but there was an Erangel match yesterday where they were in this compound outside of Chopsticks. It was the one a little bit more north of where they are right now, but they held off 2 teams crashing in on them. It was beautiful. So I'm actually okay with where they are because I'm confident based on what I've seen, and of course the fact that NIGMA, that they will be able to control this central point.
They've got the center of the position now. We still have a couple teams tanking the blue zone, and you see how far SKYROCKET is. Hopefully Frozen doesn't get caught while they're there. Hey, Imperium, we got a little bit of the military base still in this circle. I will never let this die.
There's also less Agatka in the circle per se, and the Highland Hills around it, so you know, it seems like things are kind of forming together as the PUBG Mobile guards do want them to go. GEEKAY shifting around outside Pachinki. They're rotating. They know where they want to go, but they have NASR and Falcon around them. They might get distracted. The only one is also a little bit further ahead. All of the teams are migrating down south.
GEEKAY, they're also a team. Yeah, you can see in the miniature map, everyone just going just true south, right, to get into this one as it is shifted down on the southern side. Oh, we see a little crash happening here between NASR and GEEKAY. I think nothing really came about it, but I mean, we got a lot of vehicle collisions. Hopefully they have a little bit of warranty and insurance to cover themselves.
You might say they're all heading towards Atlanta.
Yeah.
Would that be a good geographical analogy?
Yeah, I'd say so. I give it 8 out of 10.
Would Texas be a better geographical?
I did used to live in Texas, so yes, I will say yes.
Okay, cool.
CONQUEROR. Let's see if they can a bit of a Texas nosedive onto the players of VISTA. I don't even know what Texas nosedive is. I just want to try and correlate a comparison between the two.
Who's the non-knowledgeable about geology or geography now?
Geology? Is Texas so old that it's classes in geology?
Texas is huge, though. Yeah, it's like the size of one state in the U.S. You could drive 12 hours and still be in the same state, versus in Europe, so be in the same.
I like that VISTA disengage away from CONQUEROR, aware that they have gone quite deep into this circle, so kind of disengaging away now. Well, it's still relatively early into phase 2. Does make sense.
It does make sense. VISTA Gaming coming off a win in the last match, that glorious $1,000 grenade that they were able to throw. I'm hoping they can do once again here, because they've really set the momentum, and we talked about at the beginning of the matches, you know, if you were to go out a little bit too early, that's a huge, like, 30-40 minute break between the next match. That's gonna, you know, you're kind of icing yourselves by not staying in longer in that match.
They need to make sure that they have a position locked down, VISTA Gaming, before they really kind of get this swivel onto NIGMA Galaxy. They've kind of gone in a little bit blind, and NIGMA Galaxy given far too much time, Monica, to get the pick onto VISTA.
I like NIGMA Galaxy, though. They're really frag-heavy team. We've seen them, and so far this PMPL, we haven't really seen them play like we know the NIGMA Galaxy of previous seasons can play. The circle is going to come onto that bridge this time, so we're going to have SKYROCKET, who's going to be hugging that kind of side. I think they're still banking on maybe the circle will come to them, but it's just a sliver of the island on that side, as everybody on this main island is going to be converging onto this bridge side compound.
Well, I love the fact that there's still a tickle of military island in this circle, and we will not have a GEEKAY finish, so it seems like the Highland curse is indeed very, very real, as there's no Highland in today's games, and there's no GEEKAY finish in this second Miramar game of the day. NIGMA Galaxy still staying in the compound that they're in because of that circle shifting over to the east, so they're on that western edge, ready to punish the likes of YALLA.
If if you're a team that doesn't like the GEEKAY, they're like, ah, good riddance to Highland. Well, now we have some other circles than GEEKAY because that's not our favorite place to play. YALLA, though, they're going to be rotating actually all the way from Severny all the way down to the Fury Pier area. So this is a team that's really rotated far in this match as we have a little bit of He's trying to make his way, but VISTA, I mean, they're on a rotation of their own as well.
Mad Max action, CONQUEROR right in the heart of Ferry Pier, so I can't see them surviving too long. Should I say VISTA Gaming? I can't see VISTA Gaming surviving too long as the flourish shots go in their direction. If it's not CONQUEROR, it's going to be GEEKAY as well. And VISTA Gaming, yeah, they panic, just full panic mode. And they're down, they're out of the game.
Full panic mode level 100 and just, you know, was flying by the seat of their pants away from YALLA and into the loving arms of CONQUEROR. I read they said, thank you very much for those elimination points. We really, really needed it.
Like, I kind of don't get why they even went in that direction. I would argue that the North Ferry Pier Hills would have been technically a little bit of a safer part to panic rotate to. Even though it's not hard cover, you gotta argue that at this point in the phase 3, teams will have locked down the hard cover area of Ferry Pier, so making it into that area is so much more difficult, and it became that case for VISTA Gaming.
Yeah, if you're the first ones there, right? You're taking up those that kind of city area, Ferry Pier, that kind of the second, what is it called? The second best spots are these trench kind of areas that YALLA and 90th Minute have taken. Of course, it's going to be very hard to exit here. But if you can park your cars down in there, prevent another team from blowing up your tires and doing damage to your vehicle, maybe you can just really hug that water line and then try to get in wherever this next circle does go.
Definitely, and YALLA have a fantastic 3-1 split to give them credit, and they do have a little bit of land and a little bit of water that they can use to the south of them, right, to move ahead of CONQUEROR. And as that circle has shifted down the southeast, once again need to add a tiny tickle of Military Island is still in play. It's great for SKYROCKETs.
You got some like 5 grains of sand on the other side of that bridge that is in play, but I want to highlight the best team in this new circle. It's probably SKYROCKET because they that one player up on the kind of lighthouse tower, really able to look down below. Let's hope a team doesn't send their way all the way up there and take it away. So YALLA, like I said, they can just kind of hug the beach line and try to get in. NIGMA Galaxy, though, I mean, they're down to only a couple members, right? And actually, no, they still have all 4. These 2 are just rotating here, right on past Triple Esports.
This is madness, because not only is the tiny tickle of Military Island in circle, you have a lot of water as well. So the landmass available in this phase 4 is so much lower, and it becomes a scramble to try and hold on and survive the teams that are around you. NASR are going to be one of those teams. You have triple to one side and then you have FALCONS to the other, and NIGMA find a little bit of a dip to call their own ahead of the likes of GEEKAY. YALLA, you said they can play down on the beach side, but you also need to get proactive and aggressive with those gunshots in towards the direction of CONQUEROR, much like SKYROCKETs are doing towards FALCONS.
We've seen a lot of the teams that did commit into that city area of Fury Pier are now funneled all together because it is outside the circle. And as we can see here, YALLA, CONQUEROR, they're going to have to overcome each other, but also GEEKAY, who is already a step into the circle in front of them. So this is kind of a lose-lose situation here, and somebody needs to clear it out.
Beautiful nade by Rio on the roof of the building to get a knock on the faker of YALLA. Syph is on the underside down on the beach line, but unable to really do anything about it. Same at Lath, and they're the final 2 players of YALLA. They're separated and not inside the circle, and time is running out inside this phase 4.
Oh, time is a ticking indeed, as the timer has now run out and Blue Zone is coming on in CONQUEROR. Iraq, though, they're down to only 3. We have Rava here. I mean, he's going to throw some smokes on this way as he hears some shots in the northern direction. Make sure he's not caught at a terrible angle. But YALLA, 2 left alive. They're either going to have to become creatures of the deep and swim their way in, or just really try to take down the likes of CONQUEROR.
Honestly, I would do that if I was safe. if you can get into the water undetected, you go for that swim path. You go for that water play. POWR Esports play it onto the roadside. 90th minute will have 3 shots in their direction if they choose to get aggressive. Nade by Lath trying to find one of the CONQUEROR players, but unconnected. On the roof side of the building, Halaji goes down as I believe his vehicle was blown up, and Gates is going to follow suit, getting the confirmation to give GEEKAY an elimination point. CONQUEROR scrambling. They were slow to move into the edge of the circle, and now the likes of GEEKAY have once again fallen further ahead of them.
Fallen further ahead, and now we have the likes of 90th minute on the northern side being a contending factor in this fight as well. 90th minute though, they got to go for a couple of these resets though. They're out in the blue zone circle. It is going to come back this time into the Fury Pier waist side. This time YALLA, I mean, they're trying to fight it. The fight finally breaks up now, but it's going to be a 1 versus 2 Imperium.
Yeah, this is really game over for YALLA as the final player goes out in the blue, and that's going to be the end of them. That's all she wrote. We also lose a couple of other teams. The northeastern edge of the circle is a flurry of teams in the form of the only one, Falcon Esports, Major Pride, NASR Esports do have the gatekeeping position. Triple Esports in that northern compound down to the south of the road in a fantastic spot, as do SKYROCKET have a beautiful area inside the circle locked down.
Like you said, Triple Esports, a beautiful spot found indeed, because they are by themselves, right? They're in an island of their own. Everyone else is ripping each other to threads, as we see Enigma Galaxy clearing out the smokes, but nobody is home right in front of them. But Triple Esports, again, they can keep their players up alive as everyone else is scrambling into the circle and losing players.
Oh, the only one go out with 0 points. Grabbed. Not a good result for them. NASR still up as a duo. Falcons trying to push back R8 on the cliffside position outside the circle, and we see a scramble for this western edge, southwestern edge between GEEKAY, 90th minute, and CONQUEROR. Nades either direction. Hope has to push out of the building, goes for the pre-fire shot. Somali's going to help them get the knock of the Chodo. This is beautiful by Hope, and now can he push in towards the building? The pre-night goes towards him. He has to move around. He's going to find a second knock, and this is some great play by Hope.
Hope, he's looking to clear up on all 3 members of a 90th minute, as it's going to be only one Imad waiting in the corner. Hope is trying to come in now, but just through the smokes, able to find him, and Hope unable to go for the cleanup as he gets knocked right in return.
Where is the rest of GEEKAY? Hope did so much, and I get that they're technically distracted by CONQUEROR, but again, focus on one engagement at the time. They're whittled down to 2 players now in the form of Gates and Satan. Let's see if they can do even half of what Hope did in that flurry of shots against 90th minute. R8 go down. It was really a matter of time, because if it wasn't Falcons, it was going to be NASR to pick them off one by one.
I think Hope a little bit too confident, right? As we see Falcons now crashing on the track with NASR looking to clear this one up, and it's the drop shot to get the first knock at this engagement.
Powerful pushes in, and that's NASR. Just like that, snapped, and away she goes. Falcon with a beautifully overall successful push, but they are down to 1 player unless the revive comes out onto the second one.
It was a risky play, and not without its casualties, as they have lost multiple members and found outside of the circle. Coming back to Fury Pure for the 2nd consecutive time. SKYROCKET now, they came down from their lighthouse, their kind of huge vantage point. They lost the advantage in the circle, and now they need to rotate past a team like NIGMA Galaxy, as they still have multiple meters to go and conquer. The attention is on them from GEEKAY, as they're trying to as well come over this hill and into the circle.
This is so difficult for SKYROCKET, because as they spread out down towards the southwestern edge of the circle, it's very flat terrain, so they have the risk of being peppered by CONQUEROR on the other side of the circle, right? I know at the moment CONQUEROR are a little bit distracted, but the risk is still there, unbeknownst to them, at least in terms of knowing that CONQUEROR are somewhat distracted. GEEKAY still alive as a duo, 90th minute down to his solo outside the circle, and the remaining other 5 teams or so are hanging on to the northeastern edge, but down go 90th minute.
GEEKAY getting the last laugh in their long extended out engagement with 90th minute, but this is just going to clear it out for Conquerors now. They has now broken down the door. No doorbells wrong, as Satan is having 2 members of Conqueror right as back inside, needing some support from Gabe.
As expected as well, SKYROCKETs are pushing on towards NIGMA Galaxy. It's going to be a clean 4v4 fight. As far as I know, they traded players a piece, but we are looking solely at the engagement between GEEKAY and CONQUEROR. GEEKAY as a duo trying to hold on to the building. This is inside the circle, so both of these teams can technically take their time. Arguably, though, CONQUEROR relying a little bit too heavily onto the side of the wall, and unfortunately, none of the GEEKAY players seem to have a nade that they can throw down onto that underside of the wall to get a double knock onto CONQUEROR.
Double knock onto them. Grenade comes out. Just too many buildings on that second floor, though, to find any sort of purchase on these members of GEEKAY Esports. But whereas GEEKAY has been taking their attention away, now on to Triple to steal away elimination from NIGMA Galaxy, it is going to be CONQUEROR now to use this their advantage and ascend into the building.
SKYROCKET's got rid of NIGMA indeed, so now we're down to 4 teams. Gaith of GEEKAY is able to pick up one of them. So now SKYROCKET's whittled to just a duo. CONQUEROR find themselves with the most players left in the lobby of these remaining 4 teams, with 3 players strong, followed by 2 GEEKAY, 2 of Triple Esports, and 1 of Skyline. Triple Esports could steal away a sneaky chicken dinner as the circle centers up.
Centers up indeed, and while the attention of GEEKAY, normally they would have the control in the circle, has been taken away from Car. We saw the pan, it was just a little bit shy, but it has allowed the likes of Triple Esports and SKYROCKET almost free rotation into the circle on that northeastern side, because nobody's watching them. Only GEEKAY would be pressuring their side, as they're going to have their own just kind of separated, contained fight on this northeastern edge.
30 seconds or so. Make that 20 seconds until the blue zone of phase 7 starts to close in. None of these teams are inside the circle, bar a tiny tickle of one of the Triple Esports players, but not without an air of hostility from the likes of SKYROCKETs and the remaining teams of CONQUEROR and GEEKAY. Slow down as the teams become a little bit of a stalemate. It's a game of chess between the 2 teams. Who's going to be the pawn? Who's going to be the rook? Who's going to be the knight in shining armor? And who's going to take down the king to the other team's queen? GEEKAY inside the building. CONQUEROR waiting, just waiting to strike, and now they're going to be rewarded with a little bit of patience and knocking at Satan. 2 push inside the building, 1 player left up from the side of GEEKAY, up on top of the balcony of the building. Groza has full idea of where he is, and as the blue zone closes in, Groza turns around, gets the shots up, but Gates is going to be able to pick up a knock. He does end up going down, and overall, CONQUEROR survive.
I mean, he definitely just kind of baited him out into the open, right? But it was the blue zone, the ultimate squad wiper, to get the last limb onto GEEKAY Esports. But CONQUEROR, I mean, they're out of the circle, but we see Triple Esports allotted so much time in the northeastern edge, coming in now and looking to clean on up.
Driving in the vehicle, Ali separates, but he's going to be a little bit unsurprised when his shots go in his direction by the players of CONQUEROR. Ali is gratefully rewarded with a knock on that off angle. Beautiful split by Triple Esports. They gain control, and Ariva is somewhat forced in the building. Ali is going to finish him off, and that is a chicken dinner and 1,000 grand in the back pockets of Triple Esports.
The final crate airdrop really gave a huge advantage to Triple Esports, because not only could he come in, refresh all of his armor, level 3, everything, right? He had that little bit of hard cover to catch the angle of CONQUEROR. So while Riva was focusing on his other teammate, he forgot completely in that just millisecond of where Ali was, and he came out and was able to find the angle ultimate and clean that one. And so Triple Esports, well found chicken dinner.
I'm gonna be a bit harsh with CONQUEROR. To me, they got a little bit lucky in that game, right? Fundamentally, to me, they were too slow to really engage on GEEKAY. They were, within reason, too slow to engage on YALLA. And again, there was just a little bit too much luck for me that aided them in getting a top 2. It's not like they don't have the ability, but in that individual game, they had a lot of luck on their side.
I think especially seeing how this drop spot was right in their backyard, they were a team that had the least amount of distance to have to rotate. They know this spot so well, so to only finish in second place, I mean only finish in second place, but I would have thought that would have been a great opportunity for their own chicken dinner. So they're going to fall about 5 points shy of triple esports, but still 7 eliminations found.
Yeah, still 7 eliminations found. GEEKAY picked up 10 to pick up 20 in total. SKYROCKET's on the right path once again. Another solid result with 17 points secure for themselves. They played very well on the eastern side of the map.
Very, very nice indeed. And SKYROCKET, they've had such a great day today. Yeah. Like, even though they didn't get the last chicken dinner, so this is their, where they finished in 3rd, 4th, somewhere in there. It was still a really, really great job from them, especially for a team. They're not quite within qualifying positioning yet after not making the first super weekend of the tournament. So they're really coming guns a-blazing, and this is their last chance to qualify for finals.
Say they're rocketing off at the speed of light as we look at page 2 of the standings in this, a game that's just gone down. And yeah, not good for 90th minute, only 2 points. Not good for the only one esports with 0 points, and not good for VISTA Gaming with 0 points.
So VISTA, we talked about before, hey, great if a team can get a chicken dinner or do really, really well. But if you follow up with that chicken dinner with going out in first with 0 points, this is such an abrupt stop to the momentum that you have, because now they have waited probably 40 minutes for this next Sanhok match to start, and that's a lot of downtime to not stay warm for the next game.
We're 3 games in. We're 2 Erangels and 1 Miramar into this day 1 of the 3rd super weekend. We're gonna have Sanhok up next. Don't go away. We're gonna go for a short break. See you guys in a minute. Welcome back, everybody, to the PMPL Arabia Full Split 2022. We are into Super Weekend number 3, day 1, and this wonderful tournament is brought to you by the fantastic folks over Oppo. Upgraded performance and upgraded fun. Celebrate your winning spirit with the brand new Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G, designated smartphone for PUBG Mobile, Middle East, and Africa esports in 2022. As well as that, you can get in game and get yourself the wonderful Grizzly Bear set. Find all of the collection in one lucky draw if you are indeed the lucky one. Monica, what is your bear fact?
What? Oh, this happened again. You put me in quite the spot. Okay, not to be totally stereotypical, but I know another fact about panda bears, so my fact is gonna be about panda bear again. Did you know that most panda bears are always born twins?
Okay, I didn't know that, so that's actually pretty good. What I do know, though, is that you can, of course, get yourself the Grand Banquet. There you go, the banquet. Get the ingredients to make more dishes. Let's share and spread our happiness. As well as that, you can draw for a discount for free every single day, up to 70% off in a group discount. So thank you very much to all of the events that are going on, and we are into the 4th game of the day, Monica, all the way over onto the wonderful map of Sanhok.
Wonderful, wonderful indeed. So this is a map that's like a 16th of the size of Erangel in Miramar, right? It's so small. It's super action-packed, and something that we keep seeing time and time again, it is going to be Falcons versus Major Pride in Kampong, and then we have GEEKAY versus YALLA in Boot Camp.
I wanna see death and destruction in Sanhok. It seems like GEEKAY are not going for bootcamp though. They are changing their drop spot.
Oh, this is very, very interesting. Okay, I really thought that it was gonna be YALLA the first one to leave it because GEEKAY has all the time in the world, right? But I think maybe GEEKAY puts a little bit more, pride or a little more pressure on themselves to still stay at that first place spot. So very interesting indeed that they're there and YALLA's not.
It's also interesting that they've gone to Rad's drop spot, a team that aren't in this Super Weekend number 3. So I suppose the question is kind of for the finals, presuming Rad still make it in, will GEEKAY try and fight Rad for this Runes drop, or will they go back to bootcamp?
But before we can get into that, though, 90th minute, our team's right at the bottoms against the skyrocketing team of the standings. Salam still coming around, has the 1, try to go for the 2, but just fails on out. So 90th minute saying thank you very much and collecting on this 1 early game in elimination.
That's fair. They'll take that small victory. But SKYROCKET, they have a English Imperium. Good do it.
Tongue twisters.
They've had a hell of a performance in the first 3 games. 56 points they've gathered in the first 3 games. That's an average of nearly 20 points per game.
Yeah. That's really good.
That's really good.
So back over here, though, I did mention, though, these teams, they always seem to fight in Kampong, right? Let's take a real close look at the replay of how that first elimination was found by the likes of Milky Way, this time on Falcon. So both teams, I think they're pretty even in terms of their hot dropping fights in Kampong. So there's still, I mean, at some point they need to shake hands like YALLA and GEEKAY did, and somehow somebody needs to decide who's going Kampong and who isn't.
I just find it hilarious that 2 teams are fighting over Kampong, not gonna lie. I get that it can be a decent location to play from because you have pretty clean entry points into a lot of these circles between the hills around it and the main roads. But I still don't look at it as a priority compound to get locked down. Maybe because if you go further down south, you're in docks, and that's really not a good place to be in. Up north, Lakwai is kind of locked down by the likes of Triple Esports, so both teams really feel like there's nowhere else to go. Still, to me, it's weird how they're fighting over.
Nowhere left to go. It's definitely gonna be never alone, stuck behind a rock over here. I mean, at some point, if he's I mean, he had his invisible eye there. We have Nomi caught with his pants down, and that's gonna turn the tides. Gonna be even on either side. A 3v3 now, Imperium in Kampong.
Yeah, and we'll know where Never Alone is, so his solo position is definitely more heavily exposed, and he's unlikely to be able to make an impact in this engagement until the rest of his team do. So even though they've been able to make it an even 3v3 fight, the control is still in the arms of Major Pride, but at the moment they're going in for kind of solo 1v1 plays. Milky Way FPP mode, pre-fire is in, but he's gonna get dropped down to his knees by Youssef. That's some great individual prowess from Youssef, and he's joined by his teammate with the S12K. I gotta write this time, Monica, to get the confirmation onto Milky Way. Frozen is hanging up towards the stairs. BC one on the roof side. He gets a swivel on it, but the S12K can't hold him back any longer, and that's some great play by Team Falcons. I did say that they wouldn't, that Never Alone wouldn't be able to get involved until his teammate did something about it, and they did something about it.
Falcons is playing this right. Major Pride, like you said, keeps pushing the 1v1 and just keeps getting caught, as Falcons is the first team in this engagement to really, utilize their team members. They're pushing the 2v1, taking the safe fight and not just going for the RNG like, hey, can I win you, or can I win this fight against one or two players? Now Falcons mobilizing together, 3 of them going against the one. Yen standing out in the open, actually waiting for them to come through as the UMP, but it is just not quite enough when you have 3 huge birds of prey all shooting down at him. So Major Pride, first one out of the lobby.
Not only a solid turnaround for Falcons in the fact that they were the first team out of to lose a player, and they still got, like I said, got the turnaround. But again, done in under 6 minutes is pretty good. It gives them a lot more time to move into the southeastern edge of the circle. They have an open space because Triple Esports have moved further in. We are seeing teams migrating up towards the north. And fair, Monica, we haven't really talked too much about this phase on circle.
We haven't. It's up on the northern side, right? And this is right into the hands of a team like POWR, like R8, who go up in the Tapma, Cow area, and Paradise Resorts. Really big spreads and having a lot of control on the northern side. But yeah, in Sanhok, though, you definitely want to get in the circle fast, because it's really hard to rotate here. Unless you have the vehicles, which they don't spawn a lot, but it's hard to rotate on the open few hillsides where anybody could be hiding behind any of the rocks.
There's still a threat that it could end in the Northwest Islands. That's something that the teams will want to consider. POWR kind of have a little bit of an entry point lockdown for it if they want to, at least in the early game, on a pretty confident 2-1-1 split, I would argue. And YALLA in their own right have that coastline position to the north of boot camp well secured.
Well secured indeed, but CONQUEROR, I mean, they're just coming on. But before we can get into that, it's VISTA Gaming. NASR on one side and Road to Glory on the other. And VISTA, they went out first the last match after winning the match in Miramar, so really just ping-ponging up and down the standings. Unsure when they can find their momentum to stay consistent here, but I think they're going to catch a break here as NASR rotates a little bit further away.
A few teams really to the south of Paradise Resort that need to be careful. RTG, VISTA, NASR. Team still inside the blue, that's NIGMA Galaxy. They're actually the only team still inside the blue. Oh, no. Yeah. Falcons are there. My apologies.
Well, Falcons, they could be setting themselves up for a pretty good match, right? Because in previous matches where they and Major Pride stay out in Kampong for 15+ minutes and finally somebody wins the fight that late, it's too late at that point to really come into the circle and have a good game. So here, able to do what we said, 6 minutes, you said, that they're able to clean it up. Now they can just proceed as usual and then come into the circle.
They could also still pull off a pretty solid kind of heel strat, right? Or at least a plan B heel strat. It seems like that's what that's what they're maybe doing, because they're still looting up inside the blue down to the south of Kampong, keeping Yusef to the north of the buildings. Phase 1 blue zone is getting very close to the tail end. SKYROKKET, they did lose a player early on to the 190th minute. They are back down to a they're down to a trio, and they're moving in from the western side of that northwest island.
Circle coming in here. Everyone keeping their third eye onto the circle to see where it comes in. It's gonna come up on that northern side once again in Imperium. We have so much water in this circle. I'd say about 30% of this is unplayable. We see the teams that kind of committed on that northwestern side, not really having an entry on here. But I mean, if it's a time to rotate, it's a time now before someone can set up and camp the coastline and prevent you from swimming in.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be quite tricky in that regard. I like YALLA's position. They've moved very swiftly throughout the early parts of the game, and it's amazing how much of a difference your game could go in the early parts when you don't have a team fighting for the same compound. So YALLA, just kind of maybe make note of this game and how well it might go for you.
Yeah, YALLA, I mean, they're gifted this game, right? Not having GEEKAY here. I'm wondering though if these two teams figured it out on their own, right? Because GEEKAY, they just went to the west. And if YALLA was expecting them to drop in boot camp, all four of them would have dropped right into the midst of boot camp. But from the beginning, they had two land in the middle, one up in the warehouses and one on this hill. So they were aware that GEEKAY was not coming here. I'm wondering if they figured it out maybe on their own. They're like, we're gonna 4v4 in boot camp 7 times. Whoever wins it, you can have boot camp, and then the other team will go somewhere else. So there's something to happen there.
It's also the fact that they don't know where GEEKAY did drop. So even though you don't want to kind of fight in the same city with another team, the fact that they don't know where GEEKAY are is possibly going to be in the back of their minds, and that could technically bite them in the butt later on in the game as VISTA play around the south of Paradise Resort.
There's definitely only so many places that could have gone right. They're looking at, hey, where does Twisted Minds go? Where does 4K, Rad, and Curd 12 go? So probably one of those fours where, I mean, obviously after this match, they will know once they start doing their homework and reviewing the VODs and such. But as you said, right now in this immediate game, they don't know. But it has to be one of those 4 spots.
Interesting that VISTA are going through Paradise. I'm never really a fan of it too much. I also don't really like the fact that are still hanging on to Paradise Resort too much, but they have 2 players to the north edge, so that's not too bad.
I think they're just in case the circle comes back onto Paradise Resorts, they have a foot still in their house, right? Just in case. But I mean, if I was the 2 from R8, and we have this. I mean, Bandar clearly knew they were coming on through. Do the shot through the door and at least stalls the push right now from VISTA as one has been knocked.
Yeah, and you really need to send a full squad in around this area as well, because Paradise Resort is a kind of place where it can easily go horribly wrong against you, and VISTA lose another player down to just 2, Trofka and Evo Station, if they can scale back. But I find it highly unlikely that they're going to be able to find a disengage in this area as SK Ton sends it in with a molly, and that's going to be the end of VISTA Gaming. 0 eliminations. Once again, not a good game for them.
Well, VISTA actually, once their first player was knocked, it was the self-nade from Dino to turn things from bad to even worse. So VISTA, I mean, self-sabotage indeed, but maybe that iced game where they went out first in that last match, they just couldn't warm back up again for this Sanhok match.
Oh, the circle shifts up north. Not only do we still have a little bit of the northwest island in play, we have a hell of a lot of water as well. So that landmass is little to nothing. Teams have got to commit. I kind of gonna put you on the spot, Monica. Where is the circle gonna end? Is it gonna be on the mainland or the northwest island?
I'm gonna say mainland because I go for the safe option, the more realistic option. Whereas you're like, it's gonna go on to the military base island, or it's gonna go on to that wayward island over there. So I'm gonna say May Island.
You know what? I respect it, but also say,
Oh!
but anyway.
I'm the chicken.
Yeah. No, I understand,
Oh,
and
man.
honestly, I'd be in the same
roast.
boat. I think it's going to finish in the mainland, and CONQUEROR seem to be of the same tune as they push it in towards a coastline area. But POWR Esports do have, for the most part, their number. Aziz has gone down, but it seems that CONQUEROR have lost more players in the firefight.
This is POWR. They haven't really moved at all. They land in Tapmog and Cow, and they just come in up the hillside a little bit. So for them to be caught in the backside, they should always be keeping their minds there. But I mean, it's the grenades, Imperium, that are being so advantageous for the teams that use them.
Ooh, great play by Kante. He's supported by the rest of his team. CONQUEROR are trying to swing away. Rio is on the buggy. Can he get away? Yes, he can, but he's possibly going to walk into another team. No, he has made it into one of these buildings that is a safe haven, as YALLA and NASR Esports are fighting for a compound in the center of the circle. It's going to be YALLA to come out on top.
NIGMA Galaxy 2 on the very southwestern side here. They've come up from the Sami area, right on behind GEEKAY, who it's only Gate left alive. So GEEKAY, I think this is they need a period of transition, right? They came from boot camp for the very first time drop here where Rad usually likes to go, and now are, still not very knowledgeable about where it is, but the only one. We got one underneath that does get knocked and flushed.
All right, now pushing in towards the warehouse of Tapmog and getting the better of the majority of the only one. Is just only one left from the only one, pun intended. Zayad on his own. There's a tractor and a pocket full of dreams around him. Tricks out a molly, try and scale back the players of R8, but again, 3 against 1. It's a matter of time, and Zayad is able to find one. It's an isolated knock, confirms it, doesn't have time to get a first aid off, but in my opinion, damage done.
Damage is done indeed. He's just barely hanging in there as Bandar with the UMP just has him right where he wants him, just at 5 HP. And it's just a simple come around the corner, land your shots, just a couple of them, and able to take the only one out in 13th position. SKYROCKETs, though, they're up into that hot ting area, right on behind OOREDOO Thunders. And this one, it's going to come on in this time. Maybe we're going to decide who called it right, me or Imperium. And it's right down at the center one more time. I will say, it's a little bit more in the main island, though, Imperium.
It's a little bit. You gotta say, though, it could still end in the Northwest Island, right? The majority of the circle shifted away from the mainland. And Falcon Esports, by the way, went for the most 9,000 IQ crazy rotation on the boat of the coastline, and have been able to get away with it for the time being. OOREDOO Thunders holding on to the cliff's edge against SKYROCKETs.
Man, SKYROCKET, why are they so split up, though? We saw 2 up on the coastline. I guess it was just, hey, we're going to literally divide and conquer. 2 of you go on the north side and be the distraction as easy now just slipped in on the opposite side of the city. I mean, I guess that's a choice, right? That's a choice. But his dog is hanging out. He didn't even pick up his dog to help him into the truck. So his dog is just going to be out there in the open, hopefully not got out by OOREDOO Thunder.
Yeah, but all the dog hair will get on the truck, Monica. Like, and cleaning dog hair off truck seats. That's not easy.
The animal cruelty if they go for the dog. Although I'm actually now that I think about it, I don't think they can see the companion of your enemies, though. So it's not just a dead giveaway of where you are.
Do you put your cat in your car?
When we go to the vet.
Wait, is it just in the car, or is it in a cage in the car?
It's in like a cage.
See, just, terrible. But anyway,
why?
Obviously, I know, obviously that's perfectly normal. Anyway, this game goes on, and 90th minute holding on to the bridge inside the circle, but they do have RTG a little bit around them. RTG are swimming with the fishes. It seems NIGMA Galaxy are still on that Northwest Island, and SKYROCKETs and OOREDOO Thunders still locking down Hate.
90th minute, they have control of the bridge. They're the tolls, and they're requesting, you know, a couple of dollars if you want to pass on here, but nobody has any money on them here because they're going to prevent anyone from coming in. Falcons, after that huge rotation, right next to that solo of Conquer, remember he made a huge eject, got into these compounds, trying to survive as long as possible, but you have so many members of Falcons surrounding all the way around.
Do they know that he's there? It doesn't look like Rio has moved at all, and yeah, it is a matter of seconds because they're going to move from building to building, and they're doing it as a duo while DeMar shoots towards Kante and the rest of Power Esports, and yeah, Rio's found out, he's exposed, he's taken out, and the next circle shifts down south.
Okay, so now it's come on the main island, so you can stuff it, Imperium, because it's come my way this time. But, I mean, the rest of them, that's really unfortunate for the likes of OOREDOO Thunder, for NIGMA Galaxy, because they have to come across, not only, I mean, they can swim, I guess, but 90th minute is all set up on the top of this bridge, and there's no easy crossing for them.
Oh yeah, unless Roof has like a load of meds, which I wouldn't be surprised. As far as now, he's normally the designated med holder for the team. Oh, unfortunately, he couldn't get a seat before we had a look at the replay of what Falcons did to the final player. There you go. Yeah, he doesn't even have a load of meds.
What they did, just so cruel to them. 90th minute, I mean, they are very spread on the bridge, so they do have some that are in the circle, but as they leave the ball back here to watch as, well, NIGMA Galaxy, I mean, running out into the open, obviously there's somebody here because he got shot at him before. It's free elimination given to Jabal, but he, at some point, he needs to move as well, and the other teams already in the circle, like YALLA, are going to be keeping their eyes on him.
That's true, that's true. Ardus Thunder swam across the water from Hating, and they are being greeted by Team Falcons. It's not a friendly greeting, though. It's in the form of a hail of bullets as they have to move out of the blue and into the northern edge of the circle themselves, where Power Esports are waiting on the underside of the black hole of the abyss inside this mainland wasteland. The circle shifts down south once again. Absolutely fantastic shift for 90th minute.
It's also fantastic for YALLA because they have the only compound in this circle. Power, though, they're lobbing the utilities up above because they need a path into this circle, and they want to take out Falcons first to prevent anyone from shooting them on that right-hand side. But Power, they're pretty out in the open. They need to come down the hillside with not a lot of hard cover to have.
You're dead right about that one. Power Esports in the 2-1 split. There are a couple of players, by the way, healing in the blue. Ali, the final player, Triple Esports. Ida, the final player of R8, but I don't know how many meds the players have. DeMar, in his own right, is looking for a little bit of a heal strat, so I appreciate that from Falcon Esports. I knew it was going to be a tough task, so they've gone for an alternative plan B heal strat.
Maybe 90th minute should have all come down the bridge a little bit earlier before YALLA, with, you know, before YALLA was focusing on the northern side too. Now all they can see is that southern side, so all four of their eyes are on the bridge as Power now joining in, and oh man, they're just getting picked to pieces.
RTG, the bridge trolls, they didn't maybe look in the most comfortable position a couple of minutes ago, but the resilience is there. Call them Shrek if you want to, and they're gonna try and roar into another good result. 7 teams left, 13 players alive. Vault gets a pick on the Faker as he deals into the doorway. Great play by RTG as the circle does send drop, and none of these remaining teams are inside the circle.
Not at all. I mean, the advantage is the 90th and Road to Glory right now because they have that. They're closest, right? What this happens every single time. NIGMA Galaxy, every single Sanhok. I swear, we go back. They're always medding out.
I thought it was Roof, but it's freaked this game. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realize that with NIGMA Galaxy he was so far away from Roof at that point that I didn't realize that they still had a player up and healing in the blue. Don't know how many meds he has left because he's been healing for a long time. It looks like that was his last one.
NIGMA Galaxy, it has to be a conscious strategy from the very start of Sanhok. Hey, this player collect as many first aids. It doesn't like that is literally their strategy for every single Sanhok because they're not coming in guns a-blazing. They're coming in with the idea to heal since the beginning.
Bomba gets a push onto POWR Esports, a double knockout. Confirmation of squad wipe in play. Yeah, to finish off POWR Esports, and we are down to just 2 teams. There's none healing in the blue. This is bygone v bygone. This is 3v3. YALLA have taken a bit of damage, but the first aid has been successfully executed onto Bomba. So up to 75% health. Navo, in his own right, playing on the coastline, is knocked down by a safe nade. Puts it down to 3v2 against RTG, and the final play comes through, the final shot, the final bullets, and a chicken dinner for YALLA Esports.
YALLA finally getting their piece of the cake and the $1,000 for their chicken dinner on Sanhok. They came in from the compounds, right? And at the very end, even though they weren't in that circle, Road to Glory, they were all clumped up under the bridge, only had one way to try to get in, while at the same time YALLA was fanning out around and had the different angles to really just take them out one by one by one.
It's also, once again, and it's kind of like I mentioned it at the start of the game, it's amazing what kind of results you can get when you don't have a team dropping on you. So I really hope that YALLA maybe recognize that even if GEEKAY want to continue to contest them into the finals, that it might be better off if they let GEEKAY have bootcamp and YALLA play for somewhere else.
I'm hoping GEEKAY can find a little bit more, better of a performance on Sanhok, especially after giving up the bootcamp area. But that was great for both teams to recognize that, because they were having these long drawn out fights in bootcamp, and then teams like R8, like POWR from far away, were recognizing that this was such a long drawn out fight, and they would just roll into bootcamp at the 10-minute mark and just clean up on all the teams still left in bootcamp.
Teams that locked down that northern side, YALLA and POWR Esports, got a successful result, a surprisingly solid result for RTG playing on the underside of the bridge. Team Falcons as well. They did end up kind of doing what I thought they might be doing, which is pulling off a heel shot, but again, credit to them, because they went for a bit of a 9,000 IQ rotation on the boat. They played on the very northern tip of the water, and normally I wouldn't recommend it. Normally I'd say it's a bad idea, but I also understand why it worked for Falcons in that situation.
Well, let's look at the second page. Those ones that were not quite so fortunate in this Sanhok match. So GEEKAY, like we said, decided to vacate bootcamp, went instead to the ruins area where Rad normally does go, and they only got 2 points to show for it. So maybe a little bit more learning of rotations and such to be had on their end, because they're used to bootcamp and then rotating from the central position. Now being so far out, it's a little bit harder, right? Especially landing next to a team like NIGMA Galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just something that if they want to stick to that area, they can adjust, they can understand it coming into later Sanhok games across this super weekend. We are going to go for a short break. I'm excited to see the overall standings, so don't go away. See you guys in a few minutes. Welcome back to the PMPL Arabia Fall Split Super Weekend number 3. Day number 1 of the final Super Weekend. Brought to you by the fantastic folks over at Oppo. Upgraded performance and upgraded fun. Celebrate your winning spirit. Brand new Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G, the designated smartphone for PUBG Mobile and Middle East and Africa esports in 2022, as well as Oppo. Gotta thank and shout out the wonderful folks over at Monster, the official energy drink partner for PUBG Mobile esports. Monica, lots of energy on board as we are getting into the final game of the day.
Very last one. So this is the one that's going to really set the tone for the rest of the weekend, right? Going into day number 2. I want to see though in PRM, how have these teams been doing overall in the standings of Super Weekends?
Looking at the top 8 at least, Twisted Minds have dropped down to 6. Not as many positional drops as maybe I expected, but R8 should very quickly jump ahead of them, and to an extent YALLA Esports, especially off the back of that chicken dinner. GEEKAY hit that 400-point mark as well.
Jeez. 400 points. So now, at the beginning of the day, we started with, what, 112 points, I think, difference. I think we're back at that 112-point difference now between them and Major Pride.
Oh, yeah.
But the team below from GEEKAY, they started at, what, 250 points? So these teams, across 5 or 4 matches, they've only gotten maybe 30 or so points. So there's a lot of, I guess, sharing of points below GEEKAY.
Well, to be fair, Major Prize, should I say, were in joint third with NASR Esports coming into today's games. And even though it's only been 37 points across 4 games, it is still a jump up into second place overall. Let's say we go to the second page soon enough once we see our pretty faces for a second. But yeah, I'm excited to see the second page and check out what teams have kind of made things a little bit more comfortable for themselves.
So remember, it's top 16 to get into finals, and this is the last weekend. So one more match today, and then we still have 5 tomorrow, and then 5 the day after that to get as many points as possible. The ones that aren't competing here, the ones that are not adding points to their tally, is Twisted Minds. That was on the first page, but it's 4K, it's Rad. They're staying stagnant for now. I haven't really seen a lot of teams overcome them right now, but of course it's been only day 1 out of the entire weekend so far.
Road to Glory have jumped ahead of them. They're the only team to jump ahead of them at the moment. OOREDOO Thunder are now only, 18 points behind them. Team Falcons are only 28 points behind them. They should both jump ahead. What is important for the likes of Team Falcons is that they have made a decent push in terms of the points they've acquired in today's games, as well as SKYROCKET Esports. Like I said, they've gained 57 points in 4 games. That's still an absolutely wonderful average.
So teams just on average in the Super Weekends, and just talking to very generally, they hit about 100 points or so in a given weekend. So for a team like CONQUEROR, that, I mean, they definitely are really close to the bottom, despite being a team that we know can perform really, really well. I mean, they've had some decent games compared to, especially last week, where they didn't even qualify for Super Weekend, but they're still right on that 16th spot.
Yeah, definitely. It's still that 16th spot. I'm hoping that, well, for them, they are hoping they have a little bit more of a comfortable cushion ahead of 17th spot. The threat is still there, right? Especially if they're still in 16th. They need to jump ahead of 15th. They need to jump ahead of Rad, more importantly, and the sooner they do that, the easier the job becomes in the last final games of day number 3 in the Super Weekend.
CONQUEROR Iraq being in that 16th spot too, I'd be a little worried, because not only do they have a lot of points to get, they also have SKYROCKET VISTA. They've had some really big games today, so they're still on the momentum, I think, despite VISTA losing a couple of matches, like going out way too early. I think there's still some great potential from those teams below.
The bottom 4 as of right now, and the only one, Esports, are in 115th. They have officially dropped out of the top 16, and it's unfortunately something I expected to happen. Are they far behind CONQUEROR? No, they're not that far behind. They are currently, as of right now, only 4 points. But out of the two teams, CONQUEROR have performed a little bit better. And out of the two teams, I would expect CONQUEROR to perform a lot better, to be fair.
Well, the only one, they've made all the super weekends, right? It's not like they can they can just blame it on, hey, I haven't made a super weekend, so my points are this low. Look, they have played 34 matches compared to a team like
Yeah.
90 who didn't make last super weekend, I think it was. So like there's no excuses for the only one's poor place in the overalls. It's just they've just been playing badly.
It's the typical thing where, again, they're playing the league. Weeks were very much beneficial to making it into the super weekend, but that play style does not and will not and has not transferred to the super weekend games. They're currently on an average of only 4.4 points per game as we get into the final game of the day.
Yeah, you cannot play to just survive, right? It's not like, okay, we're gonna loot and then rotate and just keep our heads down and not make any sort of eye contact with anyone. You have to play like you are the GEEKAYs, that you are like the really strong teams of this lobby, and go for every single elimination that you can find.
Oh, Monica. Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh god, not this again. This is, guys, apparently yesterday was my birthday, and apparently today is too.
Yeah. Every day is Monica's birthday, so you gotta wish her happy birthday in the chat. She's currently on what, like you're about like 600 years old at this stage.
Oh gosh. Okay, so this is very boomer of Imperium to bring up like ancient history and just like meme me by just wishing me happy birthday when it definitely is not my birthday type of deal.
It's
Man.
it's kind of like an old person like myself bringing up a meme that's like from 5 years ago and thinking that it's still cool.
Relevant.
Yeah. I'm okay with that because if it puts a smile on my face, that's all that matters.
All that matters. But what really matters for Triple Esports is trying to game this one up. We just kind of downplayed the only one, right? Like they haven't been really getting any points at all, only 150 points despite playing 34 matches. So for them to get an elimination here, that's a good start. But Triple Esports, they've been faring much better than the only one in the overall standing.
The one thing I find interesting, and I kind of want to respect it, is that the only one are looking to... Okay, no, are they looking to disengage? No, they're looking to reposition. They are. They're looking to reposition and have the full squad in that one compound. I would say they'd be better off having one player still across the road, because it gives them such a strong angle against Triple Esports. But I appreciate what they're trying to do.
What's going for the only one and why they're playing so aggressive, and they clearly saw in the elimination feed now, is actually VISTA Gaming is with the other half of Triple Esports. So they know that Triple Esports is only these two members left alive as they find one on the back end side with the DBS. So Triple Esports, oh man, fighting off way more than they can chew, splitting up way too far out in VISTA, and the only one getting each half a piece of this team.
Still really good from the only one. I appreciate that they use the body advantage in the right way by sending the full squad across the way. And now as they go up the doorway, 1, 2, oh my god, that was so close. Oh my god, that was so close.
That's like, it's like when you, yeah, back on here, this is, cause I saw it in the elimination feed and I was like, wait, where's this other half of Triple Esports? But it's like, it's like when you need to sneeze, but don't actually end up sneezing. That's like what that 1v3 almost happened, but it just didn't actually happen. So it's very just anticlimactic and unsatisfactory. It could have been great.
But it does prove how important it is to kind of not take for granted the end of an engagement and not take for granted the control that you have. And even though it was scary for the only one, I do give them a lot of respect because they'd made the move to send themselves as a full squad in those compounds. So well done to them.
Well done for sure. So getting up those early game eliminations. I mean, they are starting this one strong, right? Really getting that momentum back despite going out too early. And then here in NASR, I mean, we had a little car crash and everything, but I mean, for them, they are a team that lands in the school area, super central position. Getting those vehicle managements really early in the game, and it's going to set themselves up well for the rest of this match.
Andre be mean to us in the group chat between us casters and producers. Careful what you're saying. Don't be too mean to us.
Bullied.
As R8 are playing on the northwest side to be more specific. Even Ida has Zarky locked down. Again, understanding that as of right now, SKYROCKET are still looking to kind of contend around that North George Paul area. So they have the eastern side, R8 have the western side of it.
NIGMA Galaxy. One team that we kind of criticized a bit for staying way too long in Pochinki. When you look at other teams in other regions, right? It's same map, same drop spots. You can draw a lot of parallels between, hey, this team that lands in Pochinki in this region, you know, should have very similar strategies and rotations as another team in, let's say, a different region that also lands in Pochinki, right? But this is the only team that I've ever seen that lands in Pochinki and plays this really late edge game, and it just doesn't really work out for them, because any other team in any other region that lands in Pochinki will go central first. Like at this point in the game, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, they're already rotating into the central position.
I know, and I kind of don't want to go. I kind of don't want to bring it up too much more, because it's just not something they're changing. Until we see a bit of a change, it's just not really worth kind of mentioning too much. The one caveat I kind of want to say is it's not the PMPL finals, right? And the PMPL finals is where I believe the team will play at an optimal level, whether that's rotating early or not. So it's a good thing to observe per se, but it doesn't, it's just NIGMA doing NIGMA things.
It's like teaching an old dog new tricks or teaching a boomer new jokes. It's just not gonna happen. Whoa, slander!
I feel personally attacked right now.
I caught you off guard with that one. I was like, he's gonna think I'm saying something super serious, and I just come in here slandering Imperium.
Hashtag cancel Monica in chat, please. It's, you know, like, absolutely terrible. Bullying co-casters live on stream. It's terrible. Like, Monica, why you gotta make me cry like that?
Well, what's kind of terrible is 90th minute. They stalled their rotation and argued amongst each other. We saw this happen before, where a player who spend a lot of money has the supercar skin. If he sits in the car, the skin will stay, so his other teammate will get the skin, you know, and get it, you know, cool, I get it for free, I didn't have to pay anything for it. But they literally stalled their entire rotation, all four stacked up on each other, just to exchange out a couple of skins to then continue on into the circle.
That's what man. Look, if you're gonna play the game and you're not gonna play very good, you might as well not play very good while looking good doing it, right?
That's literally a meme. That's like, you spent all this money on skins and you're just dying. It's like, hey, at least I'm dying in fashion, okay? At least I look good.
It's so true. Then Major Price swings to the northern side of the bridge, looking to catch out SKYROCKET's off the back of their rotation away from the eastern side of North George. SKYROCKET's gone into the Q compound, which is a fantastic compound to lock onto, but I gotta give credit to Major Pride for just kind of sending that little bit of a message to SKYROCKET saying, hey, look, you want to be close to us? We will put you under pressure.
So this is Major Pride has now come back to South Georgia Pole, right? We saw in the previous Erangel game, they couldn't make it all the way there, so they landed on that Slavnovka island. That was a little bit of a, hey, surprise, R8 had that northern side completely for free. So this time coming on back, they have to just, you know, be aware of that, right? They can't just, R8 can't just assume, hey, we have it for free once again, and then just roll right on through Major Pride, because he came all the way, they came to their normal draw spot again. But Circle, about to close on one more time. Ooh. This is way up in that northeast side.
The river's still in play, but an unexpected hard shift up towards the northeast. Not only for myself, but I would argue most of the teams. It does create a bit of a cluster around that southwestern edge. Rossok rotating around the bridges and the river. It's going to be quite difficult.
Road to Glory, they're delighted with this one, right? They have that northern side. They had a lot of time to loot, and no one's going to be in this general area for now. But you can assume that a lot of these teams, especially on the southwestern side, identified the circle, one in the northwest, and you might see Vista, you might see Conqueror, you already see NIGMA Galaxy kind of doing it, wide rotating up to try to avoid the central traffic jam and try to find a very clear way into the zone.
Of course, the biggest fear for the likes of NIGMA Galaxy is that phase 2 shifts up towards the northwest, and that'll be just as challenging to navigate into the edge of the circle from. But I do appreciate that they are going for a little bit of a wider rotation. Falcons opting for a 2-2 split between the edge of Yasnaya and to the edge of the river. I think that's a bit too heavy of a split considering where they are, and if they lose a player, they're going to be down to 1 in that area, and that's going to be so much harder to manage. And I don't know if they want to send all their squad into the one location.
Definitely not putting everyone in the exact same spot and having the vulnerabilities in case it does catch you out. NIGMA Galaxy, though, maybe this is working okay for them, right? Just because, I mean, this is their weakness point. Rotating after the drop, and then, of course, you're weak in your vehicle, so you can't really shoot back and do this kind of Fast and Furious drive-by situation, but a lot of times, NIGMA Galaxy loses their players in this situation, and they're like, kind of debilitating themselves for the late game.
I like this from POWR Esports. Definitely a bit of a risk, but opting to kind of go back over the bridge through Kidney Island and shift up towards the north of the river that arguably has the highest level of landmass in this phase between the north and south kind of makes sense, and they could get a bit of a gatekeeper like some Major Pride and CONQUEROR who are in their own little engagement.
CONQUEROR come up from the Quarry Ferry Pier area, and I mean they're right on the tailcoats of 90th Minute, who also drop in Primorsk right next to them. So this is really becoming congested. Major Pride, I think, identifying a lot of these southern teams like to wide rotate up north, and they've been camping this bridge, these hillsides here. As I mean, okay, okay. Highland Wolf and I were joking yesterday. The spectators will never let any sort of vehicle malfunction, bad driving go unexposed. Like they always show it.
Yeah, POWR doing a great job. What I kind of expected, being able to somewhat gatekeep that's one way of stopping your opponents, but Frozen, he's as quick as they come. Get the knock with S12K. Now Elaji goes for a return fire, but he's going to get knocked in return of his own. This is an absolute cluster truck of an engagement between these two teams. POWR Esports maybe not as heavily set up for a gatekeep as it initially looked.
What is going on? They had all 4 up, and it's just, I don't know, was not prepared for POWR Esports to steamroll right through them. He throws the grenade. He's gonna be out into the open. Got that little bit of an angle on the right-hand side. Does find him out in the open, but it's gonna be that off-angle anchor in the distance gonna prevent him from flushing Conte.
No way is he gonna get what is essentially a 1v4 on the POWR Esports. Othman, the final player up, now moves to reposition. It will give Milky Way a bit of an opportunity to go for a revive, but in the meantime, he's like, no, I want all the glory, I want all the guts, I want all the power, I want all the strength, and I want that squad wipe. He sends a nade. He's not going to connect with it. It's a little bit too far to extend. It might once again give an opportunity to go for a revive.
Hey, he saw Vista Gaming just, you know, against all instinct, refuse to revive and throw the grenade in direction of SKYROCKET. So Major Pride really wants to do exactly the same thing. They're being allowed to go for the reset as POWR. They're somehow now the favor is turned into the way of Major Pride.
Yes, indeed, a Rooney punches the air, maybe going for a third revive, using POWR Esports. Smokes to his own advantage as Yen stays in the back line, gets a knock onto Othman. Aziz is still up for POWR Esports, but Major Pride have gotten themselves back up to a full squad. And this is pretty incredible. Milky Way forced to scale back, can't get a first aid off in time. The S12K popped up, but Frozen is going to get knocked. Yen once again left somewhat to his own devices. Nomi is looking to try and find a first aid, and it is going to be Nomi to get the squad wipe onto POWR Esports.
I think it was a mistake for that last player of POWR to throw that utility, because the other players, Major Pride, they can see the trajectory of that Molotov being thrown and clearly identify where he is laying prone. So Major Pride, despite that incredibly mess of a fight, able to get all 4 up as we turn on to this fight with OOREDOO Thunders and the only one.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my
that fight
God.
between Major Pride and POWR Esports is crazy.
It was a
And
bad
we did
taste in
see
your
phase
mouth.
3 pop up, by the way, Monica, and it did kind of center up. Still the river
Yeah.
is in play.
Yeah, just when you see those fights, it's like, oh, like, I mean, the entire time you're watching the fight, you're like kind of on the edge of your seat, but in a bad way.
Yeah.
Like a cold sweat down your back. Like, oh man, this is just not anything for the highlight reel to put on, because there were mistakes made on both sides.
The only one doing a great job of defending their compound in a great way on the southeastern edge of the circle. NASR as well, as they're getting pushed on the edge of Rossack by 90th minute. This is an important engagement for 90th minute, but they're down to 1 player, sliver of health, who's being finished off. NASR come out on top.
90th minute, one of those bottom teams is like, come on, we need some points. Like, please give it to us, the only one also, and pretty much the exact same boat. The circle, though, is going to be on that northern side, Imperium. On the other side of this water, huge dividing line. And these teams, especially the ones on the western and southern side, are going to have quite the treacherous journey to make their way into the next phase.
It came a little bit later into the game than maybe some of the teams would like, but it is at least guaranteed to end one side of the river. The unfortunate part is it's the side of the river and a part of the side of the river that has very limited hard cover. VISTA Gaming vying for one of those hard cover positions against the side of RTG. Volt on top of the roof side with his teammate J9. They're in a pickle, they're in a pinch, and now they're going to look to get punched out, but Volt is going to get himself knocked down, and that is RTG eliminated.
It was the last second strafe and crouch that ruined the aim of the team that they were fighting, and VISTA Game was able to win out this compound, but just barely. Somehow Major Pride, just doing Major Pride things, I think. It's just they at multiple points they were up to only, or down to only 1 left alive, right? And just somehow still able to get the reset. That early game blue zone not doing too much damage, and then POWR just, I think Pride just had that extra fragging power and that kind of intimidation, and POWR just wasn't able to overcome that mental hurdle.
All right, coming in from the northern edge, I sent Prestige much further into the western edge of the circle while his 3 teammates hold onto the northern high ground. I really like that 3-1 split. SKYROCKET's going for a blister and rotation on the northwestern edge outside the circle. Shots by Pride will send them back a bit.
Prestige and everyone else from R8 a little bit split up on this side. Prestige having that little shack a little bit downhill from Pride, and I mean, you can't even see where his teammates are at as CONQUEROR taking out in 12th position. Again, one of those teams at the very bottom that needs to have an amazing weekend to qualify into the finals, actually, for Prestige. I mean, he's won against the world, no teammates anywhere nearby.
No, believe it or not, it may technically look like that, but his team is actually able to support him from the other side of the road on the high ground, because if Major Pride pushes too heavily down that hill, R8 will be able to expose them. It's a matter of how focused they are, because SKYROCKETs are going for a rotation on the northern side, and I don't know if Major Pride are kind of aware of that. It looks like that's the case as they push it in towards it. Shaka Prenate connects onto the player for Major Pride. Prestige keeping his hopes and dreams alive inside the shack of potential doom, as he doesn't have time to get a first aid off the pre-fire on the outside of the doorway, but Milky Way, he gets a knock.
Not enough support at all, because the rest of his teammates were looking in this direction, but just a little bit too far away as Pride and Tame just really overpowered them. Man, it's going to be them on the back end side, though, trying to prevent them from coming up, but the quick flush does come out, puts them out of the misery, and puts R8 down to only 3.
It was genuinely because R8 were distracted by SKYROCKET, but here's the
Yeah.
thing, Monica. As we're getting into the next circle shift, I still really like what R8 did because they didn't put all their eggs in one basket. Prestige was still able to slow down Major Pride, pick up an elimination point, and he did carve a lot more information for the rest of his team. And luckily, the circle does center up.
All right, Vista, the only team with a major compound in the circle. GEEKAY just barely a foot in the door on the southeastern side. But Vista, I mean, they've been ping-ponging all over the standings, right? If they don't go out first, they're winning a match, right? That they did when, I believe it was the second match today. Enigma Galaxy, we talked about putting all of your eggs in one basket. Certainly all 4 of them are in the same, or not even a compound, same building, and still on the outskirts of the circle as they try to come in.
Falcons going up against the side of YALLA, and Falcons will spread their wings and fly away to come out on top of this one. We do see this side of R8 and Major Pride fighting for a shack that is on the northwestern edge of the circle. R8 seem to be able to take control of it as a 2-person team pushing in, with Bandar still on the outskirts of the circle. Vista Gaming, you said they have the only true hardcover inside the circle. They need to defend it for their lives, Monica.
Yeah, we've seen places where the only one, this shack up here, has a nice little vantage point looking down onto Vista. So hopefully they can keep all 4 up within the compounds here and not give the only one any sort of opportunity to crash on up to them. The only one, 2 and 2, staying out to any elimination on the outsides of the circle, as now last remaining member of Falcon, Yusuf, was found out by GEEKAY.
Yeah, I don't think the only one really want to challenge Vista Gaming because they hear a lot of shots to the south of them, right? And you still have NIGMA Galaxy, OOREDOO Thunders, and GEEKAY down towards the east and southeast area of the circle. So yeah, having that 2 split is pretty viable for them at this stage of the game. 7 teams left, 26 players alive. R8 still up as a 3-person team. NASR Esports are locking down the southern edge, but they do have a player knock shots in the direction of the only one is OOREDOO Thunders. Crash on in. Luffy is holding on. He gets one on towards the side, looking for another inside the doorway of the shack, but he is gonna go down. Asama comes out on top, and OOREDOO Thunders do gain control.
Man, the fatal mistakes of running into the open, trying to go in the shack while reloading in the midst of a fight. I was like, what is going on here? But that was definitely huge errors made on the likes of the only one, and for OOREDOO Thunder to capitalize on it. We've seen the circle now. Vista keeping their eyes on R8. That little shack has allotted them so much time here, but they're running out of space here. But this is not the time to get knocked because the circle is about to pop one more time. But it's that southeastern crunch to prove fatal to all of these teams.
GEEKAY pushing down in towards NASR, and they get another knock. Satan onto TK NIGMA Galaxy as well, coming into the mix, coming into the fold, but they need to worry about OOREDOO Thunders up towards the northeastern side of the map. The circle centers up. Nobody's inside the circle. This is completely flat terrain in phase 6.
It's the new frontier indeed. Ragnar throwing the utilities by the wayside of where NIGMA Galaxy has, and he finds the actually OOREDOO Thunders from the back inside to find it onto Lord. And they're gonna be easy pickings for all the teams in this circle.
Yeah, the high ground for NIGMA Galaxy gave them something, but it took a lot away from the control that they in any way had against OOREDOO Thunders. Great direction by OOREDOO Thunders as they take advantage. They will need to move in. The phase 6 blue zone starting to close in, navigating, disintegrating away and giving nothing to the remaining teams. Lord goes down once again. The hands of OOREDOO Thunder.
Multiple times he's been knocked. He's gonna be bleeding out faster and faster. R8 though finding onto Vista Gaming, as OOREDOO Thunders also has a pretty high upper ground. So Vista, where they were in a really great spot, now need to come up the hill with the OOREDOO Thunders above them, looking on down. But NIGMA Galaxy, they could be the ones to steal away the attention of OOREDOO Thunders. I mean, they're coming in hot and heavy, and Vista Gaming right into their laps and looking to clean up on this side of the hill. Smokes all plumed out as OOREDOO Thunders is taken out by Vista Gaming.
Lovely push by Vista Gaming. They've already won a game today. They're coming into this super weekend with a mammoth task in front of them. They've suffered 2 0-point results in the previous 2 games, but they're looking to end day 1 of Super Weekend 3 in a flurry of eliminations and a second chicken dinner. They have 3 teams in front of them: RA, GEEKAY, and NASR Esports.
Vista Gaming is at 13 eliminations right now. When did that happen? They have been fighting for their lives since the beginning of the matches as R8. They lost prestige already. Vista Gaming, though, they have their eyesight, all attention turned onto them. Hopefully, GEEKAY cannot find the other angle onto them as they do find another member of R8.
It's just such good proactive play, Monica. It's so beautiful to watch Vista coordinate as a team and just cohesively work together to gain control. They still have to be careful. Third-party threats are still there when you have this open terrain. One of the GEEKAY players is hunkered down, prone, hoping not to get spotted amongst the smokes, amongst the flurry of action coming out from the likes of Vista Gaming.
Oh, RA just no cover at all as Vista Gaming is just, man, they're just steamrolling. They're just taking their every sort of vehicle, running over everybody in this lobby. And look, Vista have all 4 up. The only 2 teams left, GEEKAY, NASR, they only have 2 apiece each. So they have the man advantage. They have the positional advantage. 16 eliminations found now and looking for all of the rest of the players in this lobby.
The biggest thing Vista Gaming are doing correctly at this stage of the game is that every single fight that they take, they are closing it out as quickly as they can. So they are giving as little opportunity to the rest of the teams around in the third party. Ragnar on the prone down position will get a knock onto Evo Station. It's going to look to get returned. That's a wonderful nade. We'll send Ragnar swinging around outside of the tree, and that is going to be Dino picking up the knock, and it roars. Transcends for the rest of his team as Satan is the last player up and NASR are in the mix down on the southwest side.
Dino, the perfect throw in the grenade, displaced that member of GEEKAY to make him come up and give away his position. But the other half of Vista, they're keeping their eyesights on NASR now. And how many grenades do they each have? Because they can just lay down the mini red zone. They find the one. There's 1 left from NASR.
This is it. 18 eliminations. Can they end on a 20 elimination chicken dinner? They find their 19th. 1 player left up. The final player in NASR Esports. The final elimination comes through. And that is a second chicken dinner for Vista Gaming.
Man, I said at the beginning today, Vista Gaming, they came in with 0 points going into this super weekend. They haven't made a single super weekend yet until now, and they need a weekend like GEEKAY had last weekend where they had 206 points. Vista Gaming needs to make at least 193 points this weekend to try to even attempt to qualify for finals. And what a day they have had. 2 chicken dinners out of the 5 matches played today.
What a way for them to close out day 1, Monica. 35 points from 1 game alone. 20 eliminations, an incredible performance. Yes, they may have had a bit of circle luck. That is certainly to be agreed upon. But like I said, every single engagement that they took, they finished it off as quickly as they could.
They actually have now tied POWR in most eliminations in a single chicken dinner. POWR got 20 a couple weeks ago, right? But the next closest one, they even topped GEEKAY. Their highest eliminations in a chicken dinner was 18. So Vista, this is 35 points. That is the most any team besides from POWR has ever gotten in a single match.
It's all Vista Gaming, baby. This super weekend, these remaining 10 games, in the words of Andre, they're going to be poggers, man. I'm so excited. Like, the only one got themselves 6 points. Kind of technically well done. That's nothing compared to Vista Gaming.
Oh, no, indeed. So, Vista Gaming, I mean, great, obviously great chicken. If they can win a match, they go big, right?
Oh,
But
stop.
they had 3 other matches today too, though, with
True.
0 points, went out 11th with like 1 elimination. So they need to get a little bit more consistent there as we take a look at the second page of the match ranking.
That's a good observation to technically bring them back down to earth, for sure. Is that yes, a little bit more consistency is certainly needed. They can take all the confidence that they want and that they should from a massive performance like this, but they need to transfer that into a level of consistency. I'm sorry, guys, in the bottom page, but you know, Vista Gaming, come on, like 35 points. You don't often get those kind of games. It needs to be highlighted, and especially considering the position Vista Gaming are in coming into this super weekend.
It's something about this region because Vista Gaming, they do this. SKYROCKET, Falcons, they've also done something very similar to this, where they were, pushed into a corner. They came into the first super weekend they had and just played out of their minds, right? So I'm hoping they can keep this momentum up. But I want to see the overalls in PRM as we have that first day under our belts and how that may have shifted around.
Simply put, the standard of the lobby is really high. Genuinely, it is very, very high. Like, I can really barely say there's a couple of teams who are kind of like out of their depths. The rest of the teams who are playing across the 20 teams are just very high standard. As of right now, though, GEEKAY are at the highest standard on a total of 417 points.
Man, I mean, it's last weekend was the story of GEEKAY, and at least for today, the story is obviously on Vista Gaming. 417 points found. Not even the second place team, Major Pride, have broken the 300-point mark. So GEEKAY, they're on a league of their own, and they're just competing against each other, I guess, in this tournament because no other team can match up to them.
Twisted Minds have dropped down to 7th in the overall standings. So that means that will kind of, start to happen, of course, as you move on to the second page and we look at who's down in 9th to 16th. The only one have actually put themselves back up to 16th ahead of CONQUEROR, by the way. So a fight for the 16th spot, that's a lot closer than we thought.
The points are very, very close between the only one and CONQUEROR. In that last game, the only one, they only got like 6 points, right? So it's like you're counting pennies at this point, right? But the pennies are going to make the difference for the top 16 that qualify in finals. And they have 2 days left to solidify their scores for that finals in 2 weeks.
And that's great for Rad, because if the teams below them are tripping over each other per se and kind of stopping each other from gaining within reason a maximum amount of points, it does make Rad's position in the overall standings a little bit more secure. With still 10 games to go, anything can happen because, for example, the only one are only 27 points behind Rad, and with 10 games to go, you gotta think they can hit that average of technically 2.7 points per game. And if CONQUEROR do something similar, that will push Rad out of the top 16.
Like if you were Rad, you're hoping that the teams at the top, like GEEKAY, the teams that are above you, are gonna just soak up all the points, right? And the teams below you aren't just gonna get any of that. So they're really rooting for like, go GEEKAY, go Major Pride, go NASR, go Enigma Galaxy, right? But all right, most interesting part of the standings though, I want to see that last page, and oh man, 66 points found by Vista Gaming.
That's good. That's really good. That's like yeah, that's really good. That's an average of 13 points per game, right? And that's kind of, it's still a third of what CONQUEROR has, so we need to kind of be a little bit realistic. But in terms of what we talked about at the start of the day of kind of step by step, they're only 9 points behind COR 12, who have an extra 10 games. They're only roughly around 66 or 60 points behind 90th minute, who have an extra 15 games. That does put Vista Gaming in definitely a much better position.
So Vista Gaming, I'll go on the flip side of, so you were dividing, I'm going to multiply. So if they get 66 points today, they have 2 more days. So if they can do 66 points today, like tomorrow and the day after, that puts them at 198 points. which would be above Rad at 193 points. But of course,
know,
Vista,
I know.
I mean, they need to play out of their freaking minds. Just, I mean, really clean up those games that they just went out with 0 points, because that really
Yes.
brings their averages down.
Exactly, because it is going to be rare that you're going to hit that kind of 35-point game, right? That is genuinely a rarity. So it is something that I'm really glad that you brought that observation into the fold off the back of a disgustingly good result, that you're kind of keeping things grounded in that regard for them. They do need to maintain a level of consistency. It's important, man. It's important, of course, that we kind of use that Rad's non-moving target as a focus for Vista, because we can't be too sure that the only one are going to do good or bad. CONQUEROR are only going to do good or bad. We don't know that variable, but we do know that Rad's variable is that non-moving target of 193 points. As you get into the tail end of the day, though, we do, of course, have to highlight the fact that the Grizzly Bear event is on at the moment. The card collection, get them all in game. You can pick all of the collection up in one go if you are lucky. Monica, got a bear fact ready?
I'm scared. As you said, Grizzly Bear, I was like, oh crap. Like, I did not think of any sort of fact.
Monica. Come on, Monica. You gotta have one ready.
Okay. Nope, I got nothing. I'm like looking at this list of bear facts, and there's nothing really cool here.
You know what? Fine, I'll do the. No, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. What I'm not disappointed in is, of course, a grand banquet event. Get the ingredients to make more dishes. Let's share and spread our happiness together in game. You can get a discount every day, up to 70% off, a group discount for the grand banquet event. So get in game, get involved, and like I said, share the happiness, spread it amongst your community. Monica, day one of the third super weekend is over. 5 games have happened. It might be a little bit of an obvious question, but who's impressed you the most?
Well, I mean, beyond, okay, so anyone would say Vista Gaming, right? I mean, they've impressed me, but they've also disappointed me in those 0-point games, right? So I want to see more from them in this, in that. But I would say, I don't know. I would say OOREDOO Thunders, though. They've been okay, consistent across it. They haven't. I think they got the chicken dinner in one of the games, but I think they're a team that is kind of more solidified and has their kind of rotations all figured out.
I've been impressed with SKYROCKET, to be fair. Yeah, okay, it did kind of fall off on the final couple of games a little bit more, but they pick up the amount of points that they did in the first 3 games, and considering where they are in the overall standings, was pretty impressive. I think they set a high standard in that regard for the rest of the teams around them.
Yeah, they did well at the beginning and then just ran out of fuel towards the end, right?
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. And on that boomer joke note, we're going to end things here today in the first day of the Super Weekend number 3. But join us at the same time, same place tomorrow for some fantastic PUBG Mobile action. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful evening and see you all tomorrow.
take you back. Spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Belly of the beast. There were days where I barely had sleep, but I had to work more than competition. I can't live like the opposition. Living everything I dreamed of, doing everything you think of. The way I work, I'm on the brink of doing everything you dreamed of. Only aim for perfection, ain't no half stepping. I'm gonna take you back, spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. In the city, plenty havoc causing. Do or die, it's either all or nothing. Best believe I'm leaving out with something. Anytime I got the crowd jumping, throwing raves, you know they fist pumping. I'm the king of dysfunction. What would you do if you had my life?